The tape, what's ground? Shut up. The tape. What's ground? What's the tape? We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, what's ground?
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
What's ground?
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, what's ground?
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape, what's ground?
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape,
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
the tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby Smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, the tape.
We ain't come to play, Them dogs in your face.
What's ground?
We ain't come to play, Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. What's ground?
We ain't come to play, Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro.
What's ground?
Grind the tape.
The tape, the
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro.
What's ground?
Grind the tape,
The
bro.
tape.
Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Wednesday. I've got a loaded show, a slam-packed loaded show for you guys tonight. It is Wednesday. We've got What If Wednesday. It is Wednesday. We're going to put some teams on upset alert. It is Wednesday. We're going to tell you how important that Virginia Tech football game is this weekend.
What day is it?
It's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Do you have another sneak week on our hands? Potentially. We'll talk about that tonight. And we're also going to give you 2 awards tonight. Coach of the Year, Worst Coach of the Year. A little coy on tonight's show. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. I want to open with this, though. What a weird time to be alive, to be honest with you. I feel like the world is in complete division nowadays. One side of the aisle feels one way. Then you look on the other side of the aisle, they feel completely the other way. I mean, when it comes to a topic of discussion, boys, like quality wins versus quality losses with regards to the college football playoff rankings, how do you even decide? How do you even decide which side of that aisle you're on? How does one look at a loss like Georgia's to Alabama and compare it to Ohio State's loss versus Oregon? How do you even do that? And to be honest with you, don't your regional biases play a little bit of role in your decision on these types of things? Don't you think who you are and where you come from ultimately dictate how you feel about such topics of divide like the SEC versus the Big Ten? How does one look at a terrible loss like Alabama's at Vandy at the time and compare it to what that loss looks like now? I don't even know. What a crazy world. What a crazy world we live in where the divide in opinion, in my opinion, has never been larger, right? I think, one side of the aisle, other side of the aisle, you guys just can't decide and agree on anything. What a crazy world. Here's my thoughts on the topic, boys. We all have one common love, the love for I mean, the love for college football. And that love alone ought to be able to unite us.
That's right.
I ought to be able to look at you and say, I don't necessarily agree with your decisions on which one of those losses is more important. But you know what? I respect you, and I'm going to leave it at that. We can agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Welcome in. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. Like I said, we got What If Wednesday. We've got Who's on Upset Alert for you guys. How important is this particular game in the ACC for one particular football coach? It's just our way to shit on Dabo. I ain't gonna lie to you. Who is Coach of the Year? We'll talk about that tonight as well. But first and foremost, I want to ask you guys, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button right now. Okay, right now, go ahead and hit it. All right, and I also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. Better is now offering 100% deposit match up to $200. If you're looking for a place to make player props this season, Better is the place to be. Enter more than or less than key stats for key football players in key football games. Head over to Better right now. You get a 100% deposit match using promo code Brooks up to $200, okay? Head over there and make sure, man, like I said, no better place to be making college football player props than Better, available now in 23 states. Shouts out to those guys for supporting the network. Shouts out to you guys for supporting the network as well. What If Wednesday, boys? That's where I want to start. Who wants to kick us off? Welcome in, by the way.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I'll start this off with, I think, is a very realistic possibility. What if Lincoln Riley gets fired? Does he look for NFL OC jobs? Do college football coaches come knocking on his door saying, hey, you'd make a great OC here? What's the next step for Lincoln Riley if he is fired? On the adverse of that, what's the next step for the USC?
Yeah, if Lincoln Riley is shit canned by the Trojans this year, he's immediately an offensive coordinator in the NFL.
Really?
I mean, Cliff Kingsbury went from an OC analyst last year at USC to the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. They're 7-2. He's doing a great job. I think the transition of a college football quarterback, and a great one, into the NFL nowadays is made much easier when the terminology and the usage is much more college friendly, right? And that's why I think who's our man's that lost 28-3? That's the head coach up there.
Dan Quinn.
My bad. I didn't mean to point at you, Falcons fan. My man Dan Quinn that's up there, I think he made a great decision of going after Cliff, because he knew, like, not only is Cliff a college guy, but Cliff's a guy that can communicate and speak well and use the same terminology and morph his identity as an offensive coordinator more towards Jaden Daniels than any other professional coordinator could. So I think he is very, very coveted on the NFL ranks in terms of coordinating.
So then the flip side of that, what is the next move for USC? Because Lincoln Riley was kind of the guy that, hey, we have that one coach that's going to get us into the next step. He's from the Big 12. Look at what his offense has done. Look at what he did to the Big 12. He had a Heisman winner basically every season. He made the playoff every year. He dominated that conference. He can do that for us. We are the bigger brand. We can get him to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if USC becomes available, it's the best job available, unless Florida comes up. And this is why I'm very confused about when the positioning for this "we're the best job available" is going to start. You would imagine it's going to start relatively soon.
You would think.
And the highest level of potential hire, obviously, is guys like Frank Signetti. And then outside of that, name me a guy that's out here like, we got to hire this dude. This dude has no business being here. He needs to go somewhere else and be a better coach.
Faulkner, maybe.
Buster.
But even the shine's worn off of that a little bit because Georgia Tech hasn't had a great season.
They have fallen off the cliff offensively. I think they put up 6 points a couple weeks ago. So that's kind of faded a little bit. Now it's looking more like, okay, Buster had a great year this year at Georgia Tech to start the season. Maybe he goes straight from OC at Georgia Tech to head football coach in an SEC program. You're probably looking more towards the mid-major route right now based off the way Buster and Georgia Tech have performed this year.
And it's interesting, too, because, like, my mind kind of jumped to SMU. But
Rhett,
they're in the ACC now. You know? Like, it's not like – I understand.
It's not a terrible job. And, by the way, you're top 15 right now in terms of NIL abilities out there at SMU.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, even now, like, SMU, I know that USC would be a better job than SMU, but is it that much better to where he would want to take that chance? Or, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not even that he would be available or make himself available, but that's just, like, my mind went to that because in years past – you're the head coach at SMU. Yeah, if USC calls in, you take that job. But now, I don't know.
Normally, I ignore when the chat's just trying to pry me and poke me in my side. But I'm going to acknowledge it right now. Y'all mad because y'all got the Ole Miss study at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday instead of an Ole Miss study at noon on a Tuesday. Here's what I'm going to say. I told you Monday you had a film study coming Tuesday. And you know what I didn't receive a single message about?
The film study.
Where's my film study? It must not be that high in demand. Okay. And right now, y'all letting a Florida film study outproduce and outperform that Ole Miss film study. So I'm going to be honest, I'm looking at you with a side eye, not the other way around.
Man, slacking allegations aren't fun.
Yeah, we're gonna turn that slacking operation and allegation right around on your ass if you're not careful. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on that video, though, for real. Got any more what ifs?
Yeah, I got a bunch.
What if Oklahoma gets their second conference win this weekend against Missouri? Only a 2.5-point dog on the road. Yeah, I think if you go into this season and Oklahoma wins, 2 or 3 SEC football games, maybe they feel a little bit better. I think got a chance this weekend. They can out-defense Missouri.
They absolutely can. And I think the question of this, or the scenario, would be this is way more of an indictment on Missouri. This was, for all accounts, this should have been a playoff team. Everyone was talking about how they had one of the easier schedules, one of the easiest paths, and you have not looked good at all this season. There's not been one game this year where it's like, oh, yeah, that's the Missouri that we think is a playoff team. You struggled with Vanderbilt. Not Vanderbilt's a good team. You got killed by A&M. I mean, they have not been good.
And by the way, it doesn't get like a tremendous amount easier. I mean, as any SEC slate, they got South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Arkansas to close. They ain't going 4-0.
No.
They're not going 4-0.
Also, by the way, Oklahoma is favored in this football game.
What?
Yeah, they're not the underdog in this game.
2.5
Oklahoma
points.
is favored in this
2.5
football
point
game.
road favorite?
Yes.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma is favored in this football game.
Couldn't even dream of creating offense, Oklahoma.
Yep.
A favorite.
I guess because both teams right now,
Stinky.
it's a long shot to find any type of offensive success. So I guess it's like, hey, who's going to out-defense the other? Odds are it's probably going to be Oklahoma.
Oof. I guess Brady Cook's still out.
Has to be, I guess.
Can I go ahead and answer this super sub? Because I've got a new metric that I'd like to introduce.
Okay.
No, I mean, the sliding stealing jelly of C.J. Wiley becoming a dog is, I'm going to put it at 100.
100?
1,000%
A
dog.
hundo.
I'll put
Hold
$1
on.
million on it right now.
Hold on.
If he doesn't commit to Georgia within the next 24 hours.
Oh, no. I think my man Bennett Spear in the super chat, or the super chub as we call it around here, feel free to wait until local hour, but SSM, he ends up a dog. Not he commits to Georgia. He's already committed to Georgia. I'm putting the SSM at 101%.
This is the first
I'll
time
go
in industry
102.
history.
Yeah,
That's
first
a lot
time
of
in
confidence.
industry history we've broken
Bro-
triple digits.
Bro hit the BMS.
Yep. Still don't get that one. You sent that one to me like several weeks ago, and I'm still too old to get that one. But no, we'll obviously talk about C.J. Wiley's commitment to much extent during the local hour. We'll probably break out the film review and rehash our evaluation of C.J. Wiley. I will tell you this, and I won't make you wait until the local hour to hear it. They've been working on this one, obviously. He decommitted from Florida State a couple weeks ago, and I don't think Georgia was completely uninvolved in that original decommitment, apart from the fact that Florida State at the time, I think, was 1-6.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, he had to get up out of there. What if Penn State's got a hangover this weekend?
Against Washington?
Yeah.
Washington, I think, is definitely one of these teams that they could sneak up on you. They could give you a football game. They could turn it, especially knowing as good as Penn State does this, and they fluctuate their numbers and they're a little misleading. It's like,
Fugazi.
They are like Penn State. It's like, Penn State, they're top 25 in points per game. They got an offense going right now. Defense, they're really strong as they always are. And then, are they really that good though? They go and play Ohio State, and it's like, the offense is okay. Like, it's a typical Penn State offense. But so I think it certainly could happen.
I guess the question is, how debilitating is this hangover? Because, I mean, you can have a fairly decent hangover, I think, and you're probably going to be able to lean on a team like Washington and win it. This isn't the trap game of all trap. You can absolutely lose it if it's a really bad hangover, but I honestly think Penn State probably comes out firing more with this type of game. But if they do have a hangover, things could get dicey for them. And if that happens, things might very quickly turn on James Franklin.
Anyone rooting harder for a Penn State loss this weekend than Indiana?
No.
Obviously, Indiana can control their own destiny if they beat Ohio State next weekend. We all know that. But the odds of that happening.
Not looking too good.
Yeah,
Not great.
I'm not picking I'm not picking Indiana at this point in the season right now against Ohio State. Maybe I'll feel a little bit better after next week, but or if they control Michigan this weekend. But I think I really put this in here just to talk about the idea that I think Indiana fans are sitting at home this weekend hoping that Penn State loses while they handle Michigan.
Absolutely.
Because if both of those teams are 11-1 with their only loss coming to Ohio State, Indiana's going home. Penn State's going to the college football playoff. right?
Indeed.
We all agree there.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfortunate for an Indiana school that have they ever seen 11-1?
There has to be one time.
You think?
I'll go check.
I'm gonna say no. Yeah, they're obviously their best season ever, and they might get left out of a college football 12-team playoff. That would be pretty brutal. Any other what ifs? I've got a
What
couple
if the
more.
college football playoff has to get completely reworked after this season?
It's par for the course.
It
Par
will.
for the course. They're gonna blow that thing up and restart it.
I just think it's funny that the first year that is being introduced, not only is it the most perfect season to have the expanded playoff, but also you're setting yourself up to where the format you set in place right now is just going to be like, well, dang, like that completely, it didn't work. I think that reseeding, that's being something thrown out right now where why is the number one team have one of the more difficult paths to a national title based on how it's set up, and if you don't get a first round bye, that seems easier. And then also like these conference championship auto bids, like I think that the Big 12 could set this up to where there's going to be potentially a very undeserving team potentially, unless BYU takes care of business and they do what they're supposed to. But you could even set yourself up to a point where Boise State gets a first round bye.
Research department just hit me with, yes, Indiana University has won 11 games in a single season once in its history. That was during the 1945 season when the Hoosiers finished with an impressive 9-0-1 record, no losses, one tie, which led them to their win and only outright Big Ten championship.
If they
So
win,
no 11-win season, but they've gone 9-0.
They were a
If they-
football school before a
9-0-1.
basketball school.
if they
little
win this,
foosball school.
if they win this Saturday, it'll be their first 10-win season in program history.
Delightful.
That's insane.
Delightful. Well, I always get caught up in that one because before the 70s, we only played 10 games.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's a little bit, not fugazi, but a little bit misleading stat. What if Diego Pavia just goes absolutely off this weekend? And it's really a what if in the sense that what does Diego Pavia have to do to get mentioned anywhere near the Heisman conversation?
He was floating around it for a little bit, like especially after beating Alabama. It was like, ooh, Diego Pavia, kind of interesting, and then it kind of died off a little bit. But I don't know if that there's a world where it happens.
I honestly thought I was stumbling. Trey Harris listed as doubtful. I was honestly trying to stumble upon like a college football player comp for Diego Pavia, and I think I found one. Except he's like the equate version. I totally forgot how good Jordan Lynch was. Do y'all remember Jordan Lynch in Northern Illinois?
Oh, yeah.
Jordan Lynch finished third in the Heisman one year. And let me read some stats to you. So first of all, Diego Pavia is on pace, or at right now he's got 1,600 passing yards, I think, and about 530 rushing yards. Pretty damn good. He's like on pace for 2,600 and just over 750. What?
This Ole Miss injury report.
It's lengthy, huh?
Oh, they be doing that. No,
Yeah,
they be doing that.
Every single one of those guys is going to play. So I was wondering, I was like, maybe Jordan Lynch is like the perfect comp for this guy. Turns out Jordan Lynch was an absolute dude. Jordan Lynch threw for 2,892 yards and rushed for 1,920 yards. He almost went over the 2,000 mark in both categories, rushing and passing, on top of that 47 combined touchdowns. So maybe the player comp isn't Jordan Lynch, but maybe it is, like an equate version of Jordan Lynch. I'm looking forward to see what Diego Pavia can do this weekend.
I'll go ahead and hit you with another.
Go ahead,
Heisman
come on.
what if. What if Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel win out, but they look really pedestrian in doing so?
Then
Like,
Cam Ward wins the Heisman.
even if Ashton Genty keeps going nuclear, even if Travis Hunter plays really, really
What
well,
does nuclear look like? Is nuclear 31 touches for 146? Because that ain't nuclear.
breaks the rushing record.
Oh, then he goes dumb over the next 3 games. That's like going for 350 for 3 weeks in a row. If he does that, then yeah, he's the Heisman winner. But if he just rolls through $150 every single week like he's been doing the last couple weeks, then no. I think Cam Ward is number 1, Genty's number 2, and Dylan Gabriel's number 3. Dylan Gabriel, number 1 quarterback on the number 1 team, not putting up Heisman-worthy numbers, in my opinion, right now. I mean, nowadays, you got to go 5,000 all-purpose yards, 50 total touchdowns to win the Heisman. That ain't what this dude's doing right now. That is what Cam Ward's doing. So if they both just kind of limp to the finish line, Cam Ward is my Heisman Trophy winner. All right, so Alabama and LSU obviously play this weekend. And I think if LSU wins that football game, I know what the narrative is going to be. It's going to be DeBoer's not ready for this. Did they make the wrong hire? Oh, man, Bama Dunn fell off. Jalen Milroe's a scrub. Like, I know where that narrative's going if Alabama loses this football game. What I don't know is what the narrative is going to be. What are people going to be talking about if Alabama comes out here and just mollywops LSU? And maybe they look at it as, oh, classic Brian Kelly game. Brian Kelly letting it down every once in a while. But I think it'll be a very, very interesting narrative if, like, Bama all of a sudden looks like what they look like the first 3 weeks of the season, and for that better part, the first half of that football game against Georgia. I think it's a possibility. I don't think it's likely, though, considering I've got LSU winning.
I think if that happens, you're going to get two kind of narratives of one, well, it looks like Kalen DeBoer and company kind of turned this around, and two, it's going to be Brian Kelly just still can't do it. He can't win the big games. It doesn't matter how good this team is. It doesn't matter how well they're playing. It doesn't matter how preferable the circumstances are. You're in home. It's a night game in Death Valley. No one ever wins here, and you got smashed by an Alabama team that's been stumbling for the last 3 of the 4 weeks. So, I mean, it's going to be an indictment on Brian Kelly, and it's also going to be kudos to you, Kalen DeBoer, for figuring things out.
Yeah, I think
I
think we'll see some of those. See, I told you DeBoer was the guy. You just had to wait around. Just had to let him get comfortable in this new system, in this new environment. Last what if I've got. What if Indiana struggles with Michigan, very akin to the way Michigan struggled with Illinois last year? I'm talking about like a bullshit call that should have went the other way, and Indiana barely wins but probably should have lost. What is the narrative if they remain undefeated, but Michigan squeaks this one close and probably should have won?
I mean, again, this is one of those things where if you're a team like Indiana and you're not one of these must-haves in a big brands of college football, you have to win with style. And beating a Michigan team that has been anything but what people expect them to be this season is not winning with style at all. So it's bad for you. Now, you're not going to be out of the playoff. You can't be punished for winning a game, but people are going to remember that should Boise State keep winning games, should things like that. You have a very clear chance to make the playoff, but you have to win these types of games handily. You have to have style points.
All right, I'm out of what ifs, and you guys are still typing.
I got one.
Okay, come on.
What if Florida State gives Notre Dame a scare? Doesn't beat them. I don't think they're going to beat them. But what if Florida State keeps it within a score? Maybe it's a 2-score win, but it's a 1-score game through 4.5 quarters.
Far more of an indictment on Notre Dame than it is. Congrats.
Oh, yeah.
Florida State, you showed up.
Absolutely. But the question then is like.
Is that in South Bend?
It is. Yes, I think.
Okay.
But the question is, like, you're still winning if you're Notre Dame, but you're not looking very impressive doing it.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're Notre Dame. They can win every single one of their games and lose to Northern Illinois by 1 point, and they're getting in the playoff because they're Notre Dame. It's why I'm so middle fingers up to this university. Like, I'm out. I'm out on all of it. You lost to Northern Illinois. Your schedule's shit. You're done. Sorry. We're going to have 5 or maybe 6 10-2 SEC football teams, and we're going to take a home loss to Northern Illinois and slap them in? No, I'm out. But that, I mean, your point is like, what? It's Notre Dame. They're in. All they got to do is win. They don't have to win with style. They're Notre Dame. I mean, they get this big brand push that an Indiana is certainly not going to get. They're not going to get it. Indiana, you just said, got to win with style. Notre Dame ain't got to win with style. Notre Dame's got to show up, roll the helmets out, and win by 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like we've said before, we've seen this story millions of times where Notre Dame's their way to a college football playoff where they have that one really, really ugly loss. They have the one win that somewhere along the way looks much better. That was early in the season, and then it's kind of just, hey, here they are. They're a playoff team. Oh, they got eliminated first round. I will say I would like to maybe entertain what they look like in a round 1 where they're 12th and they maybe have to play a superior team. But
how'd you send that to me?
I got a Mac.
I know, but like I didn't see you. I saw you typing. I didn't see you sending it to me. All right, look at you. What do you got for me in what if departments, Jonathan?
What if Texas Tech does it again this weekend?
Come on, Red Raiders.
Damn
Talk to me, Red Raiders.
They got Colorado this week. Colorado, 20th in the rankings. Still in the hunt, though. Still on the double OLI, I guess. Way outside looking in, but really not too far outside of the looking in. Last week they got Iowa State. And this week they got Colorado. I believe this game is also being played at Texas Tech. So I don't know what the home environment is like for the Red Raiders, but I imagine it's pretty solid, I guess. And so I'm just saying, I think it could be the second week in a row that Texas Tech kind of officially crushes the dreams of a team making the Big 12 championship.
I'm going to watch this game specifically so I can see the Texas Tech bell ringer. You guys know.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The bell ringer.
Yeah.
What does he do?
He rings a bell.
That's what it sounds
Very
like.
aggressively.
He rings it vigorously.
Vigorously.
Vigorously rings a bell. Everyone, if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, leave this video and go watch and look up Texas Tech bell ringer, and then
maybe
come back
don't.
immediately after and comment it.
I would have went with vehemently as opposed to vigorous.
Oh, no. It's vigorous.
Mm.
It's a vigorous bell ring. If you watched it, you know what I'm talking about.
Vehemently made its ways into my my personal vows in my wedding. Yeah.
Wow.
I promise to vehemently pursue you for the rest of my days.
Did you pronounce it like that?
Yeah.
Vehemently?
Yeah, no, I said it with my chest, like you're supposed to when you're making a lifelong commitment.
Why are you looking at me like that? Like,
I don't know. I know he ain't afraid of commitment.
oh, we're getting personal now.
Oh man. Who else is on? Or what other what ifs you got?
What if Miami loses the conference championship game? Are they still just like one of these teams that's automatically in?
One more time.
What if Miami loses the conference championship game? Like say them
Undefeated to the point.
undefeated to the point.
Is
They play
Cam-
SMU.
Is Cam Ward the Heisman winner still?
That's a great question.
Because
That's a good point.
They're not going to keep the Heisman winner out regardless because it's too good for ratings. And I know the committee doesn't care about rankings and ratings and all those things. They absolutely would not keep the Heisman winner
I'm just saying, like, let's say they match up against SMU. SMU, another team that has a pretty good offense. Say SMU goes in there and beats them by 17 points. And that's after Miami kind of limped their way through the year. I mean, I just think it's kind of funny that last year we saw an ACC team go undefeated, win the conference, and then they miss it. And I know that Cam Ward would be healthy in this instance, and that certainly played a role last year, whether they want to admit it or not. But we're also talking about maybe an 11-1 Indiana missing the playoffs as well. An 11-1 Miami, you lose your conference championship.
What the hell is Lane Kiffin doing with this injury report?
Dude, you saw that? You saw that.
They got to make some rule about this. It's the whole team.
There's 25.
It's every starter.
Damn.
It's every starter on both sides of football not named Jackson Dart. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. What are we doing?
How do you
It's
think
supposed to provide it's supposed to provide clarity. That ain't providing
Lane,
clarity.
you know what?
My theory on this has been this is how he's been trying to justify the injuries over the season of they go down with a limp maybe in the middle of the football game, and it's like, but they were on the injury report. Like the next week we put them on the injury report.
It's not a bad theory.
They were
honestly.
questionable.
But you know what? College football needs an antagonist like this. College football needs someone
the
to kind
bell
of hit.
ringer.
You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Vigorously.
Yeah, no, that's vigorous.
They should have put that in the video game.
Probably. Might be in there somewhere.
But you know, I think Lane Kiffin, he plays the role well. He knows that people don't really like him. He understands that, and he kind of twists the ways and does certain things that plays into this heel role. Now, when I have to type out the injury reports, I'd rather him not do that, but it is what it is.
It's pretty ridiculous.
He's done it the whole year. I remember having to do one for them earlier in the year, and I was like, what the heck
Oh,
is
I know
this?
where I was going to go. Did you see the obvious caveat to how they're doing fake injuries? I know you saw this weekend because we've talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Florida did it. All those guys weren't hurt.
They're doing it well.
They're doing it really well, and they're doing it like every other SEC team's going to do it on Saturday. Ole Miss ain't done faking injuries, and here's how they do it. Here's how I think Florida did it, and I'm gonna do a Shane Beamer here. I hope all those guys are healthy. I hope all those guys are okay. All right, period. Now let's talk about what the real is. It was very clear to me that Florida was faking injuries on Saturday, and here's how they were doing it. Big play, explosive happens, you tackle the guy, stay on the ground. You just made the tackle, stay on the ground. That's the way we're going to do it from now on. We're no longer going to go, hey, you, go down. And then the guy's going to act like he got shot from the upper deck and then just fall on the ground. No. Whoever makes the play, whoever runs the guy out of bounds, drop dead right where you're at. We're already thinking about stopping the explosives and stopping the momentum. That's the way it is.
The part where it came
become better actors.
The part where it became very obvious that Florida was doing it was there was a series where Georgia had like 3 big plays in a row. Every single time, player was on the ground.
And it was the
3
guy that
straight
tackled the
times.
ball.
Yeah.
Every time.
And they came back in within the next 4 or 5 plays.
It's why Greg, I'm going to see you this weekend probably. Greg, it's simple. The guy can't get off the field. If he has to stop play because he's so hurt, he can't come in that series. And then done, period, end of story. You're not going to have starting safeties hitting guys out of bounds on a 55-yard explosive and then be like, shit, my ankle hurts. If he gets up and runs off to the sideline, then the play doesn't stop. Everything's good. Put the sub in. We're all good. It's so simple to me.
And I don't take this as an insult. It seemed like such a simple solution.
It's almost too simple.
Yeah, why has it not been enacted?
I have no idea.
Like clearly, and I guess it's hard to change rules mid-season like that, but they did in the Big Ten.
They did in the Big Ten. Well, no, they did in the NCAA. That was an NCAA-wide rule with the Dan Lanning rule, I think is what you're referencing.
Right.
Yeah, no, that was a sport-wide. We can't do this anymore.
Right. Do it sport-wide then.
I don't know. It's the same reason, like, for example, we've been bitching about flagrant 1, flagrant 2 in targeting for 15 years now.
Yeah.
And they can't fix it. And it's not like they're not trying to fix it either. It's such a simple rule. Oh, that guy tried to kill that human and take his head off. All right, you're gone for the second half, buddy. All right, that guy clearly making a football play, running back lowered his head, or defender lowered his head. Ooh, they just happened to hit helmets. 15-yard penalty, play on. We've been talking about this for a decade and they can't fix it. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going on. Here's what's even weirder. They poll all these football coaches. Every year at the Football Coaches Association, they put the rules in front of them, say, hey, what do you like, what do you not like? And they go through and they poll all these guys. It's impossible for me to believe that college football coaches haven't been bitching, moaning, and complaining about certain rules, and we still can't get them fixed. It's very, very weird. Yet, hey, neutral site games, y'all can have your recruits on campus now. Like, we can fix that stuff.
Thank God.
We can't fix the actual targeting rules. Just very, very weird.
No pictures.
No pictures. What else?
That was it for me.
That was it?
What if.
All right, let's move on. Who's on upset alert this weekend, boys?
There's a couple of teams where it's like, hey, it doesn't look like you could lose this game, but I mean, we talked about Colorado's one of them. Colorado, we've kind of all established is a legit team, might even be a contender this year. They're not last year's kind of gimmicky. Look at Dion, they're forcing him down your throat. This is a decent, really good football team. If that, Texas Tech might be the one where you don't want to lose that game. So I'm putting Colorado on upset alert for sure.
Miami's on this list until they earn their way off.
No, dude, Miami's good.
No,
Miami's great.
trash.
Miami's unstoppable.
Miami's garbage. Defense gives up a 70 spot this weekend.
No.
What do you got for me, J. Will?
Pittsburgh's doing this thing where they had everybody, they had people fooled for a little bit, like, oh, another ACC team, they're undefeated, and it took them a little while to get ranked. But then finally, when they did too much, and they're like, well, we got to rank them now. And it's like, oh, Pittsburgh's undefeated. We got another dog in the fight in the ACC, and then they go and lose to SMU 48-25. And I believe that football game was like 30-3 at one point. It was an absolute ass whooping. Virginia, one of these teams in the ACC as well that I think them and Virginia Tech are in a very similar realm. It's where they could get you. They could sneak up on you and they could get you. So Pittsburgh is on upset alert, mostly because I don't think they're a good football team.
Can Florida do it to Texas this weekend?
Hey, DJ Lagway practiced.
He did.
I wanted to put them on this list, but it's at Texas, and
Trash will be thrown.
That's another thing, dude. We didn't even talk about that. You saw the Clemson game last week, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh, they threw trash.
Clemson threw trash because of a call.
Interesting. Did it get overturned?
Nope.
No.
But you're at a point now where, again, you set the precedent. So
Yeah.
But that's weeks ago. I don't think Texas is going to lose this game. They're on upset alert. It's kind of like, hey, be careful. Florida's not a terrible team. They're not what their record says, but
It's got 24-6 written all over it.
exactly. It's got, hey, this is an upset game, and it's not.
I just don't think – I mean, I don't think Texas is going to score enough points to cover the 21.5.
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot.
How far we've come as a group where at one point Georgia had to score a bunch of points to beat Texas, and now what we've seen the last few weeks is like Texas isn't going to cover 21 against Florida.
Yeah. Damn, Sark done fell off a cliff.
Got a defense, though.
Sark done fell off?
You cursed him.
Question mark?
The Brooks Austin curse rages on.
Maybe.
Maybe you should talk about how good Miami is some more.
Film study coming up.
Good. Thank God.
I think that I'll go and put this one on there as well. You don't give me too much of a weird look when I say this, but Oregon, the Ducks, Maryland, I'm just putting this equation
One of those
out there.
teams.
Maryland is pretty good on offense this year, and they've had some close games. I think they play above. Now they're also very much a fluctuating team. They have a lot of ups and downs, and one of their better games was against USC, and they ended up losing that football game. That USC ended up coming back, and we've kind of found out what USC is. So I don't know that Maryland has really faced one of these teams, especially not what is presumed to be the best team in the country right now. But It just feels like Oregon, you've been good for so long this year. You're such a rarity in this season of college football.
Yeah.
It feels like you're just kind of like, when is it going to happen?
Everybody's had a clunker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you had yours against Idaho 8 weeks ago. Idaho. Maybe. I don't know. But you're due for another one. You have to be.
Yeah.
It ain't this one.
Yeah, probably not. But if it isn't this one, then I don't think you have one.
Shout out Mike Loxley. Any more?
Yeah, BYU's going to Utah, and I know Utah has been
The Utes.
utter disappointment this season. And but BYU season, does anyone else get the feeling it's kind of just going a little too perfect right now?
Yeah. Bro, I think even John Smith would agree.
Yeah, but and there's not.
Attaboy.
My thing is like, yes, BYU should beat this team. Yes, Utah's not very good. Yes, I don't think that the home field advantage that Utah is going to have in this game is going to be so substantial. But all those reasons kind of just sit in the back of your head and think like, BYU's not going to go undefeated in the regular season, are they? Like, is this team that good? So I'm putting BYU on upset alert this week.
Utah's bad.
They're very
Utah
bad.
is bad.
They're very
Offensively,
bad.
they're
real
bad.
bad offensively.
It's the perfect storm.
Slick Iowa.
Yeah, as
Slick
I said
Iowa.
yesterday.
Iowa's better uniforms.
I got one more.
What is it?
I was waiting.
Virginia Tech's the wrong one for Clemson.
Oh,
Virginia Tech is the wrong one for Clemson. Did you have another one?
I had another one.
All right, give me yours before I talk about why Virginia Tech's the wrong one.
I mean,
for
this is
Clemson.
sort of local hour adjacent, but Georgia's on upset alert this week.
You're
You're a double-digit favorite going into a stadium against. Not double
I was
digit.
about to say, it's
Not
not
double
holy
digit.
shit.
No,
You're a
it's 2.5.
favorite going into a stadium that you haven't won at under Kirby Smart. The weather conditions aren't going to be great. People are all kind of assuming this is the game you're going to win. It's upset, even though it's a 2.5 point spread.
Guys, all 4 of Virginia Tech's losses this year by 1 score.
Uh-oh.
5-4, all 1-score losses. They can create pressure. They can run the football. Give me Tootin' toting for a dub.
Ooh.
Excuse me?
You
What?
heard me. Give me my man Tootin' toting for a dub.
How's that spelled?
T-U-T-E-N. Tootin'.
Tutton.
Nah, it's Tootin'.
It's definitely tootin'.
But spelled like Tutton. It's not,
2 T's in that bitch.
it's not like it's,
If Tyler Shuck can spell Shuck,
No, you're right.
Shough, this is
Shoot.
toot.
it's fair.
Show.
It's not show, it's Shuck.
Love the English language.
Makes so
This
much
is an
sense.
important game for Clemson.
Very.
And it's weird because it shouldn't be.
I mean, it's one of those football games where, like, and this is classic Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney gets his doors blown off against Georgia and then goes through the absolute gauntlet. I mean, the freaking gauntlet of all gauntlets. Check this out. App State, NC State, Stanford, Florida State, Wake, and Virginia. Those are the 6 games in a row that Dabo won. And I done seen the takes. I done seen all the, ooh, where all you Dabo haters at now? I mean, good God, man. I hope you went 6-0 in that slate.
The football program is so down bad they wouldn't even let my man vote.
I did see this.
Yeah, got turned away from voting.
You know why, right?
I have no idea why.
He clearly has a house in Florida that he uses as a tax write-off and claims that he lives there half the year. Why else would he not be a South Carolina State resident?
It's a shame.
That was my initial thought.
My initial thought was, you get upset last weekend. We've had it. You're not. Your opinion does not matter. You don't get to vote.
I like that. I don't.
Tyler from Spartanburg was the poll.
Bro,
was
Tyler
at
from
polls.
Spartanburg going to be up that ass this weekend. I'm telling you right now. Tyler from Spartanburg going to be calling in, even though they don't take calls no more. Hell, he might show up at the show and be like, Dabo, you're garbage. How are we losing to Florida or Virginia Tech? Can't do that.
When did this become classic Dabo Swinney? Because not even 5
No,
years.
it's new classic Dabo.
That's what I'm saying, though. When did this become the classic Dabo Swinney? 5 years ago, it was, hey, is it Nick Saban or Dabo Swinney for best coaches in college football? And maybe Kirby Smart as a alternate. But Dabo Swinney was up there for, is he the best coach in college football? And now it's, well, Clemson's going to get their ass kicked by the teams that are better than them. They're going to beat up on the teams that they're better than. And then somewhere along the way, they're going to lose a game that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's been the Clemson experience for 4 years now. What happened?
That was
I'll tell you, recruiting fell off. They were recruiting at a top 7 level for the entirety of the run that Clemson was having. NIL comes around. You can't find them inside the top 15 in any recruiting class since 2021. So that's 22, 23, 24, 25, and moving on to 26. They are not recruiting like they used to. They don't have the quarterback play that they used to. They don't have the offensive style that they used to. and you take no portal guys. Like
Right.
all of the reasons that everyone has been shitting on Dabo for the last 3 or 4 years, they're still there. It just hasn't reared its ugly head until last weekend when they play Louisville. All right. So, this the hatred and the not the hatred, but the things that the negative things that people were saying about Dabo were still true when he was running through a 6-0 slate against the App States of the world.
And it's such a weird situation for Clemson because he's not doing bad enough to be fireable. This isn't a Mike Norvell situation.
No.
This isn't you started the year 500. I mean, they're winning consistently 9 and 10 games. It's just they are no longer college football national championship powers. So it's kind of where's the trajectory here? Because if you're Clemson, the outlook of the next 5 years, you're probably not going to realistically expect to compete for a national title, with the exception of maybe we can win the SEC. Other than that, what do you want from Clemson and Dabo Swinney here? Because he's not necessarily going to be a national title coach, but he's not going to be so bad enough that you can fire him.
Well, I also want to say this. The signs of this were there even when Dabo was winning national titles. The year they won a national title, they lost to Pitt in the regular season. He was losing games he shouldn't have been, even when he was this superior coach of, it's Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban, the two best head coaches in college football. This stuff was happening even when he had premier athletes, when he was being one of the best teams in college football every year.
It's the wrong one, though.
Absolutely.
The way that Virginia Tech can run the football, the way that Virginia Tech can get after the quarterback, this is a bad matchup for Clemson, especially to be a 5.5-point favorite.
It's also a bad matchup to lose just because optically. To lose 2 weeks in a row and one to the second one of a team that is far less talented than you are.
We got another sneak week.
We could, dude. I mean, let me read off a couple of games. Purdue at Ohio State, Miami at Georgia Tech, Florida at Texas, Michigan at Indiana, Maryland at Oregon, Mississippi State at Tennessee, Washington at Penn State, BYU at Utah. Those are top 10 teams. Are you telling me every single one of those top 10 teams is going to go undefeated this week?
Odds are no.
No. But, I mean, they're all games that you look at and it's like, yeah, they should win that one. They should handle that one. That's an easy win for them. The only one that's really like eyebrow-raising is Penn State versus Washington and maybe Miami versus Georgia Tech. But I think you could comfortably say Penn State and Miami should win those games respectively. So, looking at it, it's one of these weeks. Sneak weeks to me are when you come into the week looking at it, top 10 teams have a breeze. It should be easy. That's when you get got. Now, I don't think you're going to have the catastrophic like we did where 4 of the top 10 teams lose and 5 in the top 11 lose to unranked teams. You're not going to have that this week. But this is a week where you come up and you say, wow, a bunch of teams that we didn't think were going to lose at all or thought were just had, gimme blowouts ended up losing or struggling very much.
I've got 6 games that I'm looking at. All right. Last week we had 7 top 25 opponents take an L. Some of those were playing one another, so it would be assumed. But I've got 6 games I'm circling. I don't think Michigan's hopeless this weekend against Indiana. I don't think they're hopeless. I don't think Iowa State should feel good even versus Kansas. I think they're a 2.5-point favorite this weekend. We just talked about Virginia Tech versus Clemson. Guys, North Texas, a 5-3 North Texas team.
No, don't do it.
Is a 5.5-point dog against Army. Very doable. Very doable for those guys. Oklahoma, we talked about earlier, I think they can out-defense Missouri. And Virginia, if Virginia plays Pittsburgh anything like they played Clemson, they're probably going to win that football game. Like, I know you were crapping on Pitt pre-show, so go ahead. Take a shit on Pitt.
Boo Pitt, you stinky.
Boo Pitt.
Boo Pitt.
Boo Pitt.
Did you ever have a Bop It growing up?
Yeah. Who didn't have a Bop It? What made you think of that?
Boo Pitt.
Bop It.
Oh. Yeah.
I feel like we were the last generation that Bop It.
Bop It.
Shout it.
I hated to
reminds
shout
me
it,
of
bro.
the,
I never registered.
It reminds me of the Always Sunny episode where he finds the little version of a Bop It.
Yeah.
And he's stuck playing. He can't beat it. Yeah.
Great
Shout
show.
out to
Can
Charlie.
you beat it?
Well, I mean, he can't. It's like 1 green, and then as soon as it goes green and it goes green blue, it's a bit about Charlie being stupid. You got to know the show.
Yeah, Charlie's an idiot.
Yeah, Charlie's an idiot. Drinks paint.
Illiterate.
Yeah. Any other ones on this sneak week we didn't talk about?
No, I think that's I mean, be careful. That's all it is.
Sneaky.
Sneaky week.
All right, let's give awards away. Coach of the year, who do you got, boys? I think the unanimous selection should be obvious. There's a guy who's won 9 games at a Big Ten school that normally doesn't win.
Really? Unanimous?
I mean, I got a couple of other options, but yeah, I think Frank Cignetti is the guy.
Dan Lanning walked into a Big Ten conference, beat the best team supposedly in that conference, and has his team ranked as number 1 for the first time in 12 years.
Expected.
What?
I mean, I expect Oregon to be a top 10 football team.
Yeah, but you expect them to be good. But I mean, I think it's fair to say they're overachieving at this point. I mean,
Are they overachieving?
They're exceeding expectations. How about that?
I mean, my expectations were for them to be 11-1. So yeah, they have. They've currently exceeded expectations.
If I had told you at the start of the season Oregon would be ranked number 1 undefeated at this point of the year, would you have? How about would you have bought it?
I would have said they beat Ohio State, and I'm an anti-Will Howard deep state guy, so I'd have said okay.
I would still put Dan Lanning up for Coach of the Year, though.
I would too. He's definitely in the mix. Who do you got?
I had Mike Elko on my list.
I had him on my list as well.
I think it's very impressive that I think especially when you kind of go and rediscuss like the conversations that were being had when this was the hire that Texas A&M had of got rid of Jimbo, who was a household name when you hired him, and he was recruiting well, and then you get rid of him, trying to make a big splash because you know that Texas A&M, we can be one of these elite programs. We can, like, it is very obvious that they're in the talent realm to where they can make this happen. And you went and hired Mike Elko after saying that maybe it was going to be Mark Stoops, and people are like, we got the guy from Duke where football isn't even the priority there.
Wrong blue and white school. We should have been after that Stoopy guy.
Exactly. Like, really, Mike Elko's the guy that we hire. Feels a little underwhelming. Like, sure, he had a good year with Riley Leonard, but even that wasn't anything impressive. To where now he's still in a spot to where he's competing for a trip to Atlanta in his first year, potentially could win an SEC title game. I know what happened last week kind of sours it a little bit. You go and get exposed on the road against South Carolina, who's not a ranked team, but Mike Elko is doing what Jimbo Fisher could not at any point in time as a head coach at Texas A&M. And Mike Elko walks in there in his first year in the SEC and its most difficult year. Come on now.
For less pay as well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're actively paying Jimbo right now more than they are Mike Elko.
Probably, dude. Planet Fitness
Heard it was
memberships
Arms
aren't
Day.
cheap.
Heard it was Arms Day. I have Mike Elko on here. How about Josh Heupel? What do you think about that?
Don't lose to Arkansas.
Don't lose to Arkansas.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody made fun of Nico for running out of bounds. I think I was the only one anywhere on the internet shitting on Heupel for his game management, timeout management specifically in that game.
And I mean, a lot of people were high on Tennessee coming in this year. Like, hey, Nico's fresh talent. They've got the guy they want there. It's a 12-team playoff. This should be a playoff team. And right now they're very much in the thick of the race, but you lose to Arkansas, that puts a stink on it a little bit.
How about Deion Sanders?
I don't hate it.
I wouldn't push
hate it.
back on it too much.
I mean, he's a shoo-in if he does this last year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hell, he won one game and was SI Sportsman of the Year.
Yeah. I mean, so it just feels weird to say, yeah, Deion's the coach of the year.
You're a hater. That's why.
I'm not. Whoa.
You're a hater. That's why.
I've said Colorado's the perfect college football team. I don't think Mario Cristobal's getting looked at enough on this list.
Thank you, God.
We talked about how Miami coming in this year is like, hey, if Cristobal doesn't figure things out, he's kind of might be cooked. To now, they're number 3, 4 in the country, have probably a Heisman winning quarterback. Looks like they're in control for the ACC. Mario Cristobal should at least be on the ballot for this.
How about Clark Lee?
That's a good one.
Ooh.
That's a really good one.
Clark Lee's certainly deserving of a top
Clark
3
Lee needs a
mention.
statue in Nashville for what he's done for that program.
All right, so we're going to go first place Signity. By the way, Indiana's win-loss total at the year was 5.5.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Way overperformed.
look, all I'm saying is I think Signetti does get it. I don't know if it's unanimous or runaway. How about Jeff Munkin?
Up at Army,
Mm-hmm.
you're a little biased.
I'm a little biased. But Army, playoff aspirations, undefeated at this point in the season, that's pretty sick.
A keynote win over UAB.
Come on, man.
Just kidding, bro.
Don't disrespect the troops.
How about Rhett Lashley? A little shout for the SMU head coach.
Yeah.
He's certainly in this conversation akin to Mike Elko. If you go into a conference, now I know that he wasn't hired this last offseason, but going into a new conference and you might be playing for a conference title in your first year, that's worth noting.
I left a coach out of my worst coach of the year list, and I'm going to add him at the top of it right now because that guy sucks. Worst coach of the year. Who do you guys got?
I want to hear.
I want to know who
I
this
want to
one
know who
is.
this guy
Oh,
is.
it's Hugh Freeze.
Oh yeah,
Fuck that
I
guy.
have him on mine.
Fuck that guy. Yeah, no, it's Hugh Freeze.
Not even
You
from
talk
a,
about your players like that in front of microphones.
yeah, I was
you're
gonna
on
say,
my
not
hate
even
list.
from a win-loss standpoint, from the way you've conducted yourself this year. It's been honestly embarrassing. So yeah, Hugh Freeze definitely up there for worst coach of the year. I think you got to put Mac Brown on this list. Which sucks because, I mean, you did lose your starting quarterback, and he's a really, I mean.
Bro, he's putting headgear on next year.
You think so?
Yeah. Mac putting headgear on college game day.
Mac Brown's replacing Corso. They did dress Nick Saban up in a Nittany Lion costume.
I did see that.
I like it.
Yeah. Saban been far more willing to lean into the bit than I ever thought he would be. I thought they were just going to make him a curmudgeon.
You think it's because he spent his entire college football
Being
career
a dick?
not being able to do that, like at least publicly, like
enjoying zero fun, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure behind closed doors, Nick Saban was a great hang. Probably I'm sure the players really enjoyed getting to be around him.
A great hang?
Maybe not.
I'm talking from a player perspective. Like when you're not on the football field, you're not on the numbers or anything like that. You're just hanging out with Coach. Like
You're just bullying with Coach.
He
Saban.
invites you over to his house for a pool party or something.
Lambos and what do you call it? The chew that he uses.
Oh, gosh dang. I should
Right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Damn it.
Beech nut. That's a type of
That's a
chew.
type of it, yeah.
That's a type of chew.
It did look pretty cool when he would take recruits out on the boat
Red
near
Man.
tubing.
Red Man.
That's what it is.
It's not Red
it.
Man anymore.
It's not. It's called like America's Best, I think.
Wait a minute.
now.
Red Man got bought out?
They didn't
No,
get
it's-
bought out. They had to change it.
No more Red Man.
It's now called America's Best.
Yeah. No more Redskins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
My nominee, whoever the heck is in charge of Kent State right now, they are abhorrent.
Not even worth knowing his name.
No, I didn't even Google it. Didn't even take the 2 seconds to Google it. I just they're 129th in offense and 131st or 132nd in defense. That's like as bad as it gets altogether as Kent State.
How about Ryan Walters at Purdue? Purdue's 1-7 this
that
year.
was
Just
bad,
a
too.
sneaky, terrible.
And it's a little
team.
disappointing because if you go back and look at the transfer portal class that they got, getting some SEC football players and whatnot, like, oh, Purdue, you might make something happen. No.
So our research department just hit me with another fun fact. Jimbo Fisher is reportedly still due $51.1 million in equal annual installments for the next 7 years. Elko signed a contract of 6 years, $42 million.
Dude, Jimbo Fisher.
That's insane.
Shout out Jimbo
He's got a
Fisher.
year extra on the deal and an additional $9 million. That's insane.
Is there another profession?
Florida State. I thought you were going to say, is there another football program that's ever going to be in this position again? Florida State.
No, is there another profession where you can absolutely suck at your job to where they say, all right, get out of here, but you're set up for life now?
Yeah, politics. I mean, Tennessee's kind of good for good, you know.
Yeah.
Mike Norvell.
I put him on
Mike
the
Norvell.
list.
Shout out for worst
Gotta
coach of the
be
year.
on
He's
the
got.
list.
I think he wins it
Lincoln Riley on this list as well.
Disappointing.
for sure. I
How
didn't
about
even
Mike Gundy, or is my iPad auto-corrected Mike Grundy?
Apparently, he got a little fiery about when he was asked about the team's expectations and how they're a little underwhelming.
Did he
this
say,
year.
I coach at fucking Oklahoma State?
He said I'm a man.
Is that what he said?
I didn't even read. It was a whole paragraph. I didn't have the time at the moment when I saw it to read it, but I just saw like the pure headline of
You
Mike
literally
Gundy.
that's "That's cool, bro. I ain't reading all
Yeah, that's literally what
Damn,
I said. Like,
congratulations, or I'm sorry, I'm not reading all that.
that. Any more? Hugh Freeze, Lincoln Riley, Mike Norvell, Mike Gundy. Who are you giving it to? Norvell?
It's got to be Norvell.
I don't know, dude. Kent State's pretty bad.
Yeah, but
Didn't he win Coach of the Year last year?
Probably.
yeah. Ooh, that might be a first. Go from coach of the year to worst coach of the year.
Let me
First
look
to
that up.
worst? I don't think they give out. They definitely don't give out worst to Coach of the Year awards, but you know we do.
Dude,
Little-
let's
a
create
little W Coy.
let's create a Razzie Award show.
And mail it to the coaches.
Kalen
Oh, dude, we'd never interview that guy ever.
DeBoer won it last year.
Ah, that checks out.
If we got big enough, I think that'd be understand now. In our
You think if we just became the biggest college football show in the world, that coaches would be okay with us sending them trophies for being the worst coach in college football?
I think
That's
Pat-
what your take was just
I
now?
think Pat McAfee probably gets something away with something.
Away
like
with it?
this.
Yeah. So maybe I need to wear tank tops. What do you got?
Yeah, take your shirt off.
I'm just kind of looking back at the past Coach of the Year winners. Might be a curse.
You had not a great
potentially-
list, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and I say this lightly, but like Sonny Dykes, 2022. Jamie Chadwell, Coastal Carolina, 2020. Ed Orgeron, 2019 with LSU.
Need some dogs.
Brian Kelly, I guess. People, they love Brian Kelly. He's been on here multiple times. He's not one. Scott Frost.
Notre Dame, dude.
Scott Frost, holy shit.
Mike McIntyre with Colorado.
Huh?
Exactly. Might be a cursed list.
You might be onto something, Joe.
It's kind of crazy that Kirby Smart is not on that list.
Never been. That goes to my point about who did
Lanning?
I push back on?
Lanning.
Yeah, it goes back to my point on Lanning. Like they
That's
just
fair.
expect you to be good.
That's fair.
So we're not going to give you credit for being good, even though you deserve some every once in a while.
I mean, I would argue
That's
that
fair because Nick Saban only won it in 2003 with LSU. Not a
Yeah.
single other time.
But I mean, my
Oh, I
other
take it back,
argument,
2008.
my other argument is the coaching, the X's and O's coaching that you've seen from Dan Lanning has been incredible. Like he's literally caused a rule change mid-season because of his X's and O's abilities. Like that's coach of the year material, and I get it. You have a very talented team, and people expect you to be very good, and you are very good. But what you have done as a coach this year has been extremely impressive, not only in the way your teams perform, but in the way you've coached them, in your game plans as well. That's kind of why I'm rationalizing that.
I'm just thinking about what the trophy would look like for the worst coach of the year.
Just a turd.
A toilet.
That's too simple.
There's a thing in Europe. I can't remember which country it is, but it's a thing in these stores where they have these collectibles, and it's of a little guy taking a poop, and they sell a bunch of them. Like it's their thing. That could be the trophy.
You know, I would imagine that if you read about an area of the world where they sell a lot of poop figurines, you might have remembered where that was from.
I didn't read about it. I was there, but I just can't remember.
What should we send them? Ooh, a soccer ball that says you should play the real football or something like that.
We don't even believe that.
No, I know. That would be the thing. It's like, Coach, you're so bad you need to Ted Lasso this bitch.
Or just send them participation trophies. Up the spirits a little bit.
Well, let's think about it. All right, let's play If You Could Pick One. Here's how this game works. If you could pick one, Travis Hunter or Cam Ward, who would you pick?
Oh, that's such a tough question. Give me Travis Hunter.
No, you're just anti-Cam Ward.
You said I was anti-Colorado earlier. You gotta make up your mind, dude. I can't be everything.
I think what we're narrowing it down to is you're just a hater.
Here's the question.
I am hating on Miami.
Who am I adding which team? Like, we need a baseline team of like who we're adding this player to. Because, like, it depends on the situation that I'm adding them to. Like, if I'm adding a player to Georgia right now, I'm taking Travis Hunter. I'm adding Travis Hunter to Georgia's roster. I'm not adding Cam Ward. But if you're
Start from Skrizatch.
Okay, so like first player off the board, this is
Yep.
who I'm drafting. Travis Hunter. I'm probably taking Travis Hunter.
I'm going Travis Hunter for this reason. Talented quarterbacks, dynamic quarterbacks come every so often. Like we've seen them throughout history. There is only one, and there will probably only be one Travis Hunter in college football history. A guy that has played both ways in the modern age of college football, doesn't ever come off the field, is good at both positions. I'll take Travis Hunter just because of the legacy that he would be for my team. Cam Ward would absolutely be great, and I would take him in a heartbeat, but there's Cam Wards, there's Lamar Jacksons, there's Joe Burrows, there's Cam Newtons, there's great quarterbacks all throughout this list. Travis Hunter would stick out more than any of them.
And you get two players in one.
Facts. Let's go quarterback versus quarterback. Dylan Gabriel or Jackson Dart right now? Who are you taking?
Started from scratch, probably taking Jackson Dart.
Why? Dual threat?
A little more dual threat, and also I feel like it would just be easier to build a system around a righty. I don't
That's
know.
fair.
I don't think I want to build a system around a lefty.
I wouldn't even have taken it that far.
I'll go Jackson Dart as well because I think he offers you more dynamic stresses for a defense. You can kind of get a good foundation of an offense built around him.
How many top 10 wins Jackson Dart got?
Yeah, but that's also an indictment on his team.
Because Dylan Gabriel got several.
That's true.
Oh, Oklahoma was a good team last year.
In a rivalry game, yes, that's great.
You're
awesome.
right. You're right. Texas, Oklahoma, throw the rosters out.
Yeah.
It's a rivalry.
I got a
You're right.
quarterback one for you.
Come on.
Jalen Milroe or Nico?
For 1 year, one
yeah,
game.
I only get 1 year.
Probably going to say Nico.
I tried to do this as you get like a pure dual threat guy versus a player who is still very traitsy, can still run, not as dual threat, obviously, as Jalen Milroe. So I try to do that type of discussion.
I'm going to go Jalen Milroe because if I get in a pinch, I have more to build around and lean on him. Like, we can throw deep balls well. If we can't pass it all, if Jalen Milroe is just having a bad day in the pocket, I'm just going to have him run, and he's a massive threat
That's
at that
it.
point.
Yeah.
That's it.
I found him.
Oh, the shitting figures?
Well, research found him, but I found him. Yeah, we have a research team now, and he's crushing it right now. Holy shit. Oh, yeah, these are the figurines that Jonathan was mentioning that I guess they sell.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Just
Literally everywhere.
little people taking little shits.
Yes.
Huh.
You walk into the stores and it's wall to wall, like up and down, like all kinds of different variations of it.
I've not seen that before.
Looks like Kyler Murray versus a good NFL defense.
Oh, short joke. Would you rather be a Vanderbilt fan this season or an Indiana fan this season?
Oh, Indiana.
Really?
Yeah, you got like national title hopes right now. Unrealistic, but yeah, you got national
But
title.
here's the thing. It's also kind of being set up for you to be utterly disappointed and walk away with nothing.
But I think that
Vanderbilt,
Indiana,
you've already had the great moments. You
I
beat
feel like
Alabama.
Indiana fans probably, whether they want to admit it or not, are kind of already expecting it to end that way.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not going to tell you that to a man, but deep down inside they know like we're not actually going to mess around and go make a playoff run.
I don't know.
And plus, let me put it this way: Indiana is winning football games in a much more fun style to watch as a viewer than Vanderbilt is. Vanderbilt is winning games, but it ain't exactly a showstopper when you turn them on.
Vanderbilt is winning games. That's the
Indiana
fun.
is winning a lot of games.
But Vanderbilt beat Bama, dude. Number one, Bama.
They stormed field. Indiana ain't stormed field
Vanderbilt
yet.
stormed they carried goalposts through Broadway.
Seen it before in Tennessee.
But Vanderbilt
Weren't even the first ones to do it.
But Vanderbilt,
Do something original.
I'm saying, plant that bitch at midfield.
Would you rather be tied to Mark Stoops for 5 more years or Billy Napier for 5 more years?
Oh, Billy Napier.
Billy Napier.
Yeah, I think we've seen the best of Mark Stoops, and as
100%.
someone who rides Mark Stoops Mountain and is on top of it planting his flag, I did that 2 years ago, and ever since he's just been shit.
You
That's
can't find an
unfortunate.
offensive coordinator to stick around, dude.
No, he can't.
Would you rather have Malachi Starks or Mason Graham?
Mason Graham.
Malachi Starks.
Mason Graham, closer to the ball, more likely to impact every down.
Malachi Starks because he's more dynamic. I can put him on the field where I need him to. If my
think-
punt returner goes down, I can have a Malachi Starks there.
Who's the best safety in college football?
Malachi Starks.
Wrong. It's Caleb Downs.
Probably. I mean,
Who's the best defensive
1A
tackle in
and
college
1B
football?
probably. Mason Graham.
Yeah, that's where I went. It's the second best safety versus the best defensive tackle.
Okay.
What?
No,
You pushing? You pushing back?
You said that a little too firmly in my
A little
opinion.
too firm for you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Let's be honest. People were very underwhelmed with what Caleb Downs was doing at Ohio State prior to what he did this past weekend at Penn State.
Okay, let's also be honest. Malachi Starks has not played his best football.
Malachi Starks has been playing really good football for 3 years now.
Okay.
So he had a tough stretch to open this season.
And also, you can plug and play him much more. He's much more flexible in a comparison to Mason Graham.
Oh, shit. I thought you were saying in comparison to Caleb Downs.
No.
Well,
I'm not saying
maybe,
that.
Caleb Downs versus
I don't think Downs can play corner like Malachi can.
correct.
I'm not saying that you're wrong in saying he is, but I just feel like you jumped on that rather quickly. I felt like it's worth a discussion because I
Would
think
you-
it is a discussion.
Would you rather recruit a wide receiver that cannot catch, but is an incredible route runner, or a wide receiver that cannot separate at all, but is insane at catching?
Do I have a good quarterback?
You have a decent enough quarterback. He can make every throw in the book, but he's not going to be a game changer with his arm.
So I have Jake Fromm.
I wasn't going to say
So
names.
this is
but
like a
This is a Matt Landers versus Kyrus Jackson discussion. This is what this is.
okay.
To make it real local for you guys. Give me the guy that's creating space. At least I've got a coin flip in college that guy's got me an explosive on the other end. With a guy who's just got great hands that's never going to be able to separate in college with the quarterback that you described, whether it's Jake Fromm or whoever, but an A- at the quarterback position in college, they're clicking off reads when space isn't created. They're throwing to space. That's what they're doing.
That's fair.
In college. Whereas like in pro ball, I mean, no one's creating space. It's all tight window throws. So having a great hands catcher in that situation is more ideal than a guy that creates a bunch of space. We've seen the guys that create a bunch of space flame out in the league, and they're great college players. Kadarius Toney, right?
John Ross.
We've seen it happen. John Ross. I wouldn't even claim he was a great college player. I don't remember him being a great college player. I remember him being a great combine guy.
He was pretty good at Washington.
Okay. So, yeah, you're right. You're right. He was. He wore one at Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
Played with Jake Locker?
I think that was the Browning era. That was when they went to the playoff.
All right. So, yeah, either way, like I think I would take the guy who's more likely to create a bunch of space in college. In pro ball, give me the great hands catcher.
Good analysis.
Would you rather have Ashton Jeanty or both of Penn State's running backs?
Is Ashton Jeanty giving me the stats that he's
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
me?
You just plug and play Ashton
I'll
Jeanty.
go Ashton Jeanty.
Okay. And just have a decent two as opposed to having two good backs?
I mean, like, seasons like this only come so often. Like, people are going to talk about what Ashton Jeanty did in 2024 for a long time. I mean, having a solid 1-2 punch in college football is great, and it's probably honestly better for your team. But as far as talking points and things to remember and things as a fan you can center yourself around, give me Ashton Jeanty.
Kirby about that clout.
I'd take Jeanty.
Yeah, I would too. I got one more. Do y'all have any?
Ashton Jeanty or Ryan Williams?
1 year? One game?
That's a good one.
Give me Jeanty.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll go Jeanty as well because less depends on you getting him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Turn around and hand it to him.
Good way to think about it.
Lane Kiffin, the play caller, or Steve Sarkisian, the play caller?
Lane Kiffin is a good play caller, but boy, he'd have me on cardiac arrest sometimes. He'd have me stressing.
I'll go Lane Kiffin. He's ballsier.
Ballsier and does way more with way less.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Texas has got a top 5 roster in the sport right now.
For sure.
They got a first rounder at left tackle, a good right tackle, decent backs, great weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Not the weapons that Ole Miss has right now in terms of veteran presences, but I'm gonna take Lane. I think Lane's done more with less over the last 5 years than Sark ever has.
They're
Except for
just
maybe
my play caller?
Washington. Yeah, just play caller.
Okay. I'll take Lane then, because I was gonna say, never mind. Yeah, I would just take Lane.
Oh, you were worried about the off the field stuff with Lane?
Not even
The
the off the field
distractions?
stuff, but Sarkisian has proven he can win the big games. Lane Kiffin has not proven he can do that. But that's why I said, is it just my play
You
caller?
putting a has me? Has he?
Has he?
Yeah, as an OC he has. But
Sark?
Lane has
Are
too.
you talking about Sark or
Well,
Lane?
both of them have won big games as
Both?
OCs. Neither of them have won big games as head coaches.
That's what I'm. Now, Sark has had far less time. Well, I mean, he was at USC for a while.
I like Lane. What we saw him do today, I see a bunch. Do we have Epic Pin ready?
No.
All right, either way. I've seen a bunch of coordinators like have something work for them, and then they get right back on the ball and they run it again. I saw Lane Kiffin do something this weekend that I think requires a tremendous amount of like just brilliance. And what he did was he ran a very simple concept out of trips where he kind of motioned one of the receivers back into orbit and then sent him out into an arrow. And then he had one of the receivers run a deep post, and then he had one of the receivers run an out at 12 yards. And basically what happened was you're putting all the zone defenders on one side of the field in conflict against a team that was playing a lot of zone. They get right back on the ball after hitting the explosive. They get to the same exact concept, arrow in the flat, deep out with a front side post, taking the safety in the corner with them out of a completely different set. They had one was trips bunch. The next they get out a duo, run the running back into the flat, run the tight end on the out route, and run the number one wide receiver on the post. It's like completely different, same concept, different package. I just thought it was brilliant. And he does stuff like that consistently on tape. Whereas Sark's more of like, great run game designer, great play caller, setting things up midway through the game. But it's not like, oh, we stopped running the ball today. All right, that's okay. We'll just figure out all these other things. Ole Miss has ran the ball like shit for 4 games in the SEC, and they're throwing it all over everybody.
Yeah.
The moment Texas can't run the football, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going Lane. Good?
It's good.
Man, we're way over. Let's go talk some dogs, shall we?
Welcome
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in. We got a whole nother loaded hour for you guys. We're going to talk about our Ole Miss film notes from today's film study. Is this Georgia's biggest threat, I should say, or is it Tennessee? Apparently, we have a fantasy update, which I don't know. Am I going to be looking forward to that?
Yeah, you are.
Of course you are.
I might skip it based off those tones. Which players are going to be the most important in this matchup this weekend? Why Ole Miss wins? Why Georgia wins? We'll break that down here today on the local hour. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. If you're looking for a new place this season to place player props, Better's the place to be. They now offer more than or less than player props in 23 states on the college football level, including the fine state of Georgia. You can get a 100% deposit match up to $250 over there on Better using promo code Brooks today. So head over there. Support those who support us on this network. And if you haven't already, I see a bunch of people watching us tonight. If you haven't already hit that thumbs up button on the network, please do so. And for damn sure, if you're not subscribed to this network, you need to be go ahead and hit that subscription button. We appreciate you guys for being here, boys. Where do you want to start?
Would you like to just rip the Band-Aid off?
Yeah.
Just go ahead and get these fantasy updates out of the way.
Oh, that Band-Aid. I was like, what are you talking about?
What did you think I was talking about?
Did I lose that bad?
Yeah.
Dude.
First
You
loss
got
of the
your
season, huh?
ass kicked, dude.
No, not the first loss of the season. For
That's
you.
what my memory tells me.
Well, your memory is
You have a
wrong.
bad memory.
Let me put it this way. If it was just your entire team versus Nate Frazier, you would have lost. That's how
Yeah.
bad this was for you
Yeah,
this
we're
week.
coming back now. We up.
ETN had 38 points for you. Arian Smith had 51. That's about the only noteworthy ones to read off for you.
Hey, you know what? Every once in a while, you just got to walk out in your front yard and just hand the nut to the squirrel. You know what I mean? Because he damn sure ain't finding it on his own.
Good
so.
act of service.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you finished with 100 points this week.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Nate Frazier by himself was responsible for 107.
That's right.
Dylan Bell had 54. Lovett had 65. Delp had 23. CJ Allen 12. Chaz Chambliss 12. A lot of good scores for Kirby this week. And he finished with 286.
That's cute. Georgia flipped finally
Before you
CJ
do that-
Wiley today. Huh?
Before we do,
No, I
Jay,
thought we were going to talk about pressing news, not
Jay,
this
what's the
nonsense.
total points we're at now?
Kirby is also winning the total points.
Oh,
now.
is he? That's crazy.
I know it's weird. You have a 5-3 record.
It's almost
That's
like
all
when
that matters.
it's almost like when the
That's all that
success
matters.
of your team revolves around only one person after you got the first pick of the series. Hey, what's that news?
CJ Wiley committed to the University of Georgia today, right before the show. Out of kind of nowhere. And here's why I say it was out of nowhere. Very rarely do I get phone calls nowadays from the University of Georgia where it's like, hey, bro, what you know about so-and-so? You guys were with me last week. I got a couple of those phone calls. Hey, what you heard about CJ Wiley? And my immediate response was, ooh, why are you calling me asking me this? What have you heard from CJ Wiley? And then all of a sudden, boom, bango, CJ Wiley a dog. That happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, it
It
did.
was weird. It's also like none of the beat really saw this coming. Usually when news pops, it's like
Georgia didn't see this coming is what I was just trying to tell you.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like no one saw
Not
it
this
coming.
week,
Not
at
even the
least.
beat. But so at least hey, you got him though.
I mean, it kind of fit how his recruitment has gone. Of you go into his actual commitment where everybody comes in, everybody's got the cameras and everything.
Not just everybody. Only Georgia beat reporters.
Yeah,
It's all that he invited. And now maybe he did. Maybe he invited Florida State guys. Maybe he invited LSU guys. But when I show up to commitment ceremonies and it's me, it's Justin Tell, it's Ben Woke, it's Jeremy Johnson, that muck is a dog normally. And then we all go out there and he's like, I'm going to LSU. And we're all like, huh?
yeah.
FSU, excuse me.
We were preparing 4 different commitment articles that day
Oh,
because
yeah.
you truly had no idea where he was about to go. He ends up committing to Florida State. And it never felt like it was like even he after it was like, I don't know, we'll see. It's not exactly a done deal just yet. decommits from Florida State, and then all of a sudden it's like out of nowhere, like, oh yeah, now I'm going to Georgia.
I knew the possibility of a decommitment was on the forefront for multiple reasons. One, you mentioned it. In his commitment ceremony, we asked him to a man, is this it? Is this done? Are you calling it a day? Are you done with recruiting? No, I just announced a verbal commitment today. Quote, direct quote, I didn't sign any paperwork today. Okay, so I knew a flip wasn't necessarily imminent, but I knew a flip was possible. Then you turn around and see Florida State do what they did this year, and the stuff with Keon Coleman happen, and it's like, and the idea that your wide receivers coach might get fired down there. Yeah, you're decommitting from that football program. Now, here's what was weird. He decommitted basically on a visit to Texas A&M. He was out there for that Texas A&M LSU game, I believe it was. And then he comes back. I was told he was at the school at Milton at 11 a.m. that next morning. Just to let you know what kind of football guy this guy is. All right, so that was a night game out there in College Station. I would assume they had a night flight, maybe a red eye back. Yeah. Back on campus, working out in the weight room, catching balls off the jugs at 11 a.m. the next morning. This is a grinder. I think some people look at, the physical pedigree of this guy, and they say, okay, dad played at LSU, dad played in the league, mom ran track at LSU and was really, really competitive. This guy's 6'4", 200 pounds, genetic freak, right? Just everything comes naturally to this guy. That's not the case. This has been one of the more developmental projects and amounts of growth that I've seen from a high school athlete here in the state of Georgia in a long time. I've got photos of this kid at 14 years old when he was a freshman wide receiver that everyone looked at as, hey, maybe this guy grows into tight end, and he was playing at Alpharetta. And then I see him the next spring at Milton, and it looked like he just got off a cycle. And it wasn't a cycle. It was a cycle of genetics. That's all it was. He blew up, and it was a byproduct of work. And this is what this guy has done. He has worked and worked and worked, and he continues to get better, honestly. I've mentioned it on this network before. The only minus in the department of this guy, he doesn't have natural hands. We just got done talking about whether or not you want a guy who picks the ball really well or a guy who separates really well. This is a guy who separates extremely well. He is not a polished catcher of the football yet, but I just told you, he's going to work on it. This guy's going to grind.
So then let's go to the adverse of that. What's the harder skill set to develop then? Is it harder to be a route runner, or is it hard to become a catcher?
Yeah, I can't call God and be like, hey, God, you want to give this guy some NFL traits? I can't just, slap it on you, right? Whereas, like, with the prime example of this is Devontae Smith, we all would say, is one of the best catchers of the football we've seen in college football in a long time. He made acrobatic, phenomenal catches and rarely was ever known for dropping the football. That was a guy that grew into that. Okay, he grew into a guy that was a natural catcher, and he did it with 3,000 balls on the jugs every day. This is the type of work ethic that is required to overcome some of these inefficiencies in your play as a player. He has that work ethic, and that's the thing that makes me feel okay about the fact that this is a guy who has been known. I mean, it's on tape. It's a guy who drops the football every once in a while, but everything else is A++.
It is interesting, though, like how one commitment can kind of completely change the narrative of a room or like a position that you're recruiting in a class. And CJ Wiley is a prime example of this. I mean, we had conversations during this season leading up, like throughout this year, of if this is the wide receiver group that you bring in, if you're Georgia, like it's a good class, but nobody would say it's a great one. But now you have Taylor Taylor, you have CJ Wiley, you have Tyler Williams, and you have Landon Rolden. That's a really good wide receiver class.
Is Thomas Blackshear still verbally committed?
I have no idea. That was so weird.
Is he on the list? Is he on 247's commit list? Because Thomas Blackshear tweeted out he's still committed to Georgia, but he is exploring other options. So I believe he's still, quote, verbally committed to UGA. And I know when this popped today, at least in our Discord,
he is still on the list.
He is still on the list. And I saw Jeff do an interview with him the other day. So he's still very much a Georgia commit. And people, when this happened today, the first thing I see in Discord, because you're fans and this is the way you do it, 4-star, high-ranked kid commits. Ooh, does this mean anything about Taylor Taylor? No. I don't think this means anything about Taylor Taylor. I'd be paying attention to Thomas Blackshear, though. I would be paying attention there.
Worth noting.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe he sticks. I mean, Coley likes him a lot.
Well, and this is what I was about to say is this is kind of what you wanted out of Coley, like when it was announced that he was going to be your new wide receivers coach. And people immediately did the reactionary thing of what happened in the past. But our bottom line was this guy recruits. He recruits really well, and he's done that every single where he's gone, no matter if it's been Texas A&M or wherever else. James Coley recruits, and he gets really good kids. And this is an example of it. His first class, his first wide receiver class back at Georgia, he's got a really good class forming.
All right, we got to educate some fans here because I do see some names in these replies that I often see in my replies on social media. Research team just sent me the announcement from Thomas Blackshear on Twitter. Quote, I am still committed to the University of Georgia. I'm just opening up my recruitment. Let me read you some of these responses. Ruining your relationship/trust with the program is not worth a couple of extra offers. The thumbs up emoji. LOL, what? If you're motivated, why open up your recruitment? Make it make sense. I mean, you just gotta let these kids be kids, man.
Yeah,
dude, you're not committed then. Just decommit and figure it out. Psst, the money ain't worth it sometimes. Like, guys, let kids be kids, man.
Yeah,
Stop doing that. That makes your program look bad, in my opinion.
Oh, it does. It's disgusting. And people forget that these are 16, 17-year-old kids. Like, they're not NFL football players that you can talk shit to online. They're kids. They can't vote.
Recruits.
And their kids, look, I've been elite in my profession for 5 years, in my opinion. For 5 years, I have been elite.
Well,
you know what I mean?
that's news.
Woman requests charges against Georgia wide receiver Colby Young to be dismissed.
Huh. Write that.
You want me to go?
You got cameras. I'll do it.
All right.
That'll be interesting. What do you do with that?
I mean, history states that the last one that got dismissed stayed on the team. Rara's first instance, he was still there after the first one. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's fairly similar where there was an arrest and then it was dismissed.
He wasn't indefinitely suspended, though, the first time.
I think it got dismissed fairly quickly, though. And let's also kind of be fair here. I think the Colby Young suspension was also kind of in part of you had a lot of legal stuff going on around your team and you had to send a message. So,
and it's one of those things where, like, when it comes to, and we were talking about this before show, and I don't know if this is the right way to talk about this, but when it comes to domestic related issues, you may be innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, but you are not in the court of public opinion. Not in 2024. And maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. It's not for me to judge. I'm just telling you the way it is. When something like this happens, okay, you are guilty in the court of public opinion with regards to male versus female relations. I don't know if that's correct. I don't know if that's incorrect, but that's the way it seems to be. Okay. So yeah, we'll see what ultimately happens with this. I think it'll obviously be a question that Kirby gets asked pretty quickly. Luckily he doesn't face media in this sense until Monday.
Right. And I think
have plenty of time to think about his answer.
Well, also I think we can go ahead and safely say he's probably not playing on Saturday.
No.
So that's out the window. Go ahead and mark that.
Probably not playing over the next 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If he is back on the team, if he does get reinstated, he's gonna have to get back into condition. You would imagine. I would highly doubt. We actually have a statement, bro. Research team killing right now. This is an affidavit released Wednesday by Young's attorney Kim Steffens. The woman said the police report was, quote, slanted and does not accurately portray what occurred on October 8th. I did go to Colby's Young apartment late at night to talk to him about our relationship and my pregnancy, the woman said in the affidavit. Colby asked me to leave more than once while I was there. I did not leave until I became upset with him and did not think our conversation was productive. Quote, Colby did not place his hands on me in any way during the conversation and argument that was inappropriate or unwanted. He did not hit me. He did not push me. He did not cause any bruising or marks on me. He did not injure me in any way. That is her statements.
Send that to me.
Okay, I will. Those are her statements in the affidavit released Wednesday. So based off that I'm reading right there, I see no reason why you shouldn't be able to reinstate him.
Yeah. I mean, like the story that came out originally is kind of the opposite of all that. There's bruising.
Where'd these bruises come from him?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's good news all around, I guess. Is it?
I mean, outside of football, it's good that there wasn't a
Right,
domestic violence occurrence
that's what I'm
that
saying.
happened outside of football. So is it good news that Georgia might get an ex receiver back? That's also good news.
Sure. It's unfortunate that this situation happened at all, but life happens.
Interesting.
I don't remember where we were at, honestly.
I think we were talking about Thomas Blackshear.
Yes.
And I don't know where we were at in that discussion. I think we were landing on something relatively
Kind of pay attention to this one because that if one of these guys are going to decommit because of this news, it's probably him.
Yeah. All right. Should we get into film notes?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That'll give you guys time to do whatever you need to do news-wise. All right, let's break it down. I broke down Ole Miss's offense today on the channel. If you haven't watched it already, when this show ends, go ahead, run right over there and start watching that sucker. They have zero trust in that offensive line. In fact, in my opinion, the whole system seems to be working around hiding those guys, okay? There's zero traditional run game. We'll talk about that here in a second. It's either run Jackson Dart or get stuffed. If you watch that film study today, if you look at the box scores alone, so you take the film and you take the stats, they will tell you Ole Miss can't run the football right now. Not with running backs. They become one-dimensional almost immediately as soon as they walk off the bus, apart from Jackson Dart. So let's address stopping the Jackson Dart run game. I watched that Arkansas film. I watched all 70 offensive plays, how many they took. There were not a lot of, he kept that read option and then ran outside the edge. No, most of the design quarterback runs are right in the middle of the box. A lot of them are quarterback draws out of empty. Okay, they'll get into empty, they'll motion a wide receiver or a back into the formation, and then they'll run quarterback draw. I'm telling you right now, as soon as I see empty this weekend, we are stunting. That's what we're doing. We're stunting all across. Nothing will screw up a screen or a draw more than either immediate pressure on the quarterback or, some type of stunt up the middle. When you get guys crossing and have an offensive lineman trying to turn and trade things off, it can absolutely create a nightmare for those types of situations. Here's the deal, though, right? They can't run the football, but they haven't had to. They're a one-dimensional football team right now whose one dimension is elite. They can throw the football really, really well. Kirby said it Monday in his press conference. If you included the throws off of RPOs that they have, they would probably lead the nation in rushing. And I don't disagree with that. But, you're going to have to eliminate some of that quarterback run for sure. You'll see it on the tape if you go watch it tonight. Majority of their passing concepts actually require the quarterback to hold on to the ball relatively quickly. If they're not taking three-step drops, letting it rip for a one-on-one 50-50 ball down the field, their passing concepts are anywhere from 8 to 15 yards. And that takes a while to develop. And a lot of crossing, a lot of meshing, a lot of stacked releases out of this offense. Here's what I would do. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if this is what they're going to do, but off of watching it today, here's what I would do. I'd be rushing 5 every single snap. I'm going to put those 5 offensive linemen in 5 one-on-ones across the board for as many snaps as I could possibly do it, because I know that not only one of those guys is going to lose their one-on-one, maybe multiple. All right, so we're immediately creating havoc if we put 5-on-5 every single down, okay, particularly passing downs. Now, here's the caveat to that. If we're sending 5, or if we're maybe even blitzing sending 6, okay, and they start to kill us and they start to crush us, now we go the complete opposite. Now I would rush 3, drop 8. I'm going to make you play disciplined. I'm going to make you eat your vegetables, Lane Kiffin, because I know you don't want to do it. I'm going to make you eat your vegetables, Jackson Dart, because I know you don't want to do it. So at first, I'm going to bet on my 11 guys beating your 11 guys in a one-on-one situation by adding pressure to the box, playing man-to-man, playing one-on-one, whatever it is, leaving guys on islands and getting home, because I think you can. And if that doesn't work, if you can't get home because they're for some reason having like a 2022 SEC championship game, Alabama rekindling of an offensive line, then at that point, I'm rushing 3, dropping 8.
So it sounds to me like this is potentially another Jalen Walker type game.
Yeah, Jalen, Michael.
All of them?
Yeah, all of them. All of them. Chaz Chambliss, all of them.
Oh, the boy Chaz. Remind me how they attacked Ole Miss last year, because I feel like the offensive system's fairly similar. It did feel like at first Ole Miss had some good success moving the ball down the field, but very quickly it hindered. And again, like
didn't Ole Miss fail on downs twice inside plus territory to start that football game last year?
No, they started back-to-back
scored
touchdown
first.
drives.
Okay, so the other way around.
I think.
I
Correct me
thought
if
they
I'm wrong.
failed on multiple fourth downs in plus territory, and it really swung momentum, if I remember correctly.
Correct me. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay. Well, I think it was the first 4 offensive drives were touchdowns, and it was 14-14 in the first quarter, or
No, because Georgia won like 56-10, right?
52-17.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 14-14, and then Georgia just jumped out, killed him, and Ole Miss got nothing but a field goal after that. I could be wrong though, but no, I do think that it's you're going to be in a winning situation either way. One, because you have a Kirby Smart defense, but I do think that, like you said, Lane Kiffin doesn't necessarily like driving to drive the field. He would much rather have explosives. He would much rather take the top off your head. So if you're going to force him to, have his quarterback be under duress a lot and make hard throws, that optimizes for you. Or B, force them to just march it down the field, 10, 15 play drives. You're probably going to be in a good situation there as well.
Ole Miss only turned it over on downs twice in that football game. One was on the second possession. The other time wasn't until their very last possession of the football game.
Okay, so it was the second possession that I remember. That's in plus territory as well, right?
Yes. Georgia had
Like
just
35.
responded. They scored, and they turned it over on Georgia's 40-yard line. And then Georgia got the ball back.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
But it
Got-
was
But he's going to do this. That's something I
Right.
left out of my notes. They're going to stress you for 4 downs.
But
Like
it
as
was
soon as they get past, sorry, I know it's twice I've done that to you.
it's all good.
As soon as they get past the 35, you're playing 4 downs unless it's 4th and 7.
You also have a super sub, by the way.
Oh, it's Super Chubb?
Yeah,
get
see,
to
the
it.
problem for Ole Miss last year was even on 4th down, they were not in 4th and go situations. It was like 4th and 20, 4th and 15, 4th and 17. Rough situation.
Oh, we got a couple of these. Let's take them all. Red Stem Orchard says, got my Film Guy trucker hat and 2% Shoot shirt today. Everyone grab some merch. I'm going to tell you something right now, Red Stern. Every time you wear that, people are going to think your shirt says Cooch. Just letting you know.
Yes.
JD the guitarist says, can Georgia out-depth the Ole Miss elite D-line or use tempo to wear them out? Also, like against Tennessee, can Georgia nullify Ole Miss scheme by player ability? So, yeah, that's what my game plan was, right? The scheme is the scheme. It boils down to whether or not you can win one-on-ones. If I'm Georgia's defensive coordinator, I'm going into the game plan assuming my guys are better than yours. That's how we're going to call the game. That's how we're going to design the game. That's how we're going to talk to our football players during the week. We trust you. We trust you to win your one-on-one. Let's go out here and ball, boys. That's how I would coach them. So do the players nullify the scheme? Yeah. That's what happens every time Georgia plays a great scheme defensively. The scheme doesn't beat them. The players are going to have to. So Saturday, if Juice Wells or if Trey Harris is healthy or if Caden Lee wins some one-on-ones, then your players got beat, your scheme didn't, okay? So players absolutely have to win their one-on-one. In terms of your questions about depth or comments about depth, the last thing I'm doing if I'm Georgia in this football game is playing with tremendous amounts of pace. The other team's doing it, okay? Let them play their style. We're going to play ours, okay? We're going to snap the football with 25 seconds left on the play clock, not 35, all right? We're going to play our brand of football. And this was different with like a team like Florida. I'm going to run the piss out of Florida's defense. They're too damn big. I don't feel that way about this defense from Ole Miss, right? They've got really high athletes at their defensive line, right? Centurion Perkins, Princely Umar-Milan, Walter Nolan. All these guys are sub 4.8 runners in the 40-meter, including the 300-pounder in Walter Nolan. So, like, they're really, really athletic. I don't know if I would want to stretch them horizontally or feel as if I've got to play a brand of pace that isn't complementary to my defense.
So it's going to be a much different offensive scheme than what you had against Florida. It's probably not going to be as much jet
End
plays,
arounds,
a lot of
jets,
end arounds. You're not
quick
gonna get a lot of
screens.
that.
I mean, the quick screens are in because they're in. That's the way the system runs. But no, I don't envision this being hey, we can run past this team or we can run around this team. You're going to have to run at this team.
The quick screens also feel like more of an alignment thing as well.
Yeah.
Like they almost never run them in press man,
Mm-mm.
which you shouldn't. So
Let's get to some more super chats. Justin Farmer paid $2 to say, holy shit, we got CJ Wiley. Yes, you did. Carson Beck enthusiast, $4.99 on the Super Chub. Heavy rain Saturday in Oxford. Who does it favor more? Georgia. The other team can't run the ball. Okay, so yeah, I think it favors Georgia if it's a monsoon. Now, if it's just kind of spitting rain.
It's saying thunderstorms, I think,
Oh,
gonna be wet.
that's unfortunate.
for you.
Yeah.
I'll be in the box.
Mm.
I'll be covered.
It's not wet in the box.
Got any more super chats over there?
No, I think I ran through all the Super Chubs. Really? Really?
That one was good.
That one was good. Where are we at? Is this Georgia's biggest threat, boys?
It's weird because from a team standpoint, I don't think so. But from a game standpoint, it can be. Because if you come into this game thinking, Tennessee's the one game we got to get past. Tennessee's going to be our last real challenge of the year. This is still very much a gettable team, and in the aspect of Ole Miss can certainly get you. Kirby Smart teams rarely get surprised by big moments like this, but if there were going to be a big moment in the season or a game where you get punched in the mouth and not work, and we're not expecting it to happen, it could be Ole Miss. And Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin offenses can get up on you quickly. They can be on a 2-score lead very quickly. And by the way, if that happens, you're on the road now. The situation has been hyper. The stadium pulse is very high at that point. So it could be dangerous. I think it's dangerous in that regard, and I think that's why it's your biggest threat. From a team standpoint, I think it's still Tennessee.
I think it's their biggest threat because Ole Miss has been a whole lot more consistent on offense this year, and they've continued to hit their deep shots, and that's what beats Georgia. Is if you're hitting your deep shots and you're being explosive on offense, that's what gets Georgia in trouble. While Tennessee has shown somewhat of an ability to do that, they have not been consistent in that. Tennessee's MO right now is we're going to run the football, and we're going to do it well with Dylan Sampson. I think you would feel much better about matching up against that than you would against a team like Lane Kiffin and his offense and their ability to be explosive.
Yeah, right now, Tennessee's game plan is we're going to run the football, play defense, hope to beat you 24-17 today. And if we hit our deep shots, we're going to beat you 35-17. That's the whole way they're playing football right now. Now, to their credit, it seems things are getting a little cleaned up. At least they did last week against Kentucky, missed several field goals. But the deep passing, at least, seem to take a step forward. And it's the last infinity stone for that offense because Lord knows they can run the ball.
For sure.
I also think that I think Lane's scheme and variety of scheme is far more complex and harder to prepare for than the scheme that Tennessee runs. Tennessee's scheme is not complex, but the way it's built creates stressors, right? They have this wide spaced offense that creates this, we got to play the pass separately from the box. Whereas like you go to prepare for Ole Miss and I think you're preparing for 1,000 different things and having to prep for 1,000 different things and they're explosive. So yeah, I think this one's far more, it makes me as an analyst picking Georgia this week far more nervous than it will be picking Georgia to beat Tennessee because that's what Georgia does. Georgia is going to box the ever-loving hell up out that running game, and they always have against Tennessee. What?
I don't know. Last time I heard they're going to box their ass, it didn't go well.
Yeah. It did, though. I did a millie.
It went viral.
Yeah, it went viral. I have Michigan fans that quote tweet that to this day. I'll tweet something and it's going viral, and a Michigan fan will hop in there and go, "Y'all trust this dipshit?" And then it'll post that video. Like, I don't know, pretty good take. It just didn't.
Learn football or die.
Fruition. Yeah, that's where that came from. Learn football or die. If you want a Learn Football or Die shirt, head over to the Shopify link in the description of this video.
That one will not be misconstrued as cooch.
No, it will not. Yeah, I didn't think about that one when I made that shirt.
I like it. Good conversation starter.
It's a tremendous conversation starter. Yeah. However, you don't need to be wearing that when you're coaching your little league, your son's little league team.
Just you wore that at the little league game?
Buddy, I didn't think about it. It's because to me, it says 2% chooch, and I know what that means. But to everyone else, it's like, why is this guy coaching my kids with the word cooch on his shirt? So yeah, it didn't go so well. But it was a talking point. I got to explain what we do and what I do.
You need to explain the word chooch to a bunch of moms.
Well, there's a dad that approached me about it, and
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for this conversation.
Honestly, what was even funnier is as the conversation played out, he was like, I'm a Nebraska fan, and I watched the Dylan Raiola film study. He knew who I was, but didn't understand the chooch reference. Cooch reference in his mind.
Have you worn that shirt since?
Oh, yeah, I wear it all the time. We're at high school events all the time.
Stand on business.
Looks like there's what's this? Like a 1/4 inch, 95% cloud cover. Probability of precipitation, 71% this weekend. Research team's banging. Where Where should we go next? Which players are most
I
important?
was going to say, who are the key players in this game?
I got a top 5 with an OLI. You want it?
Let's do it.
All right. OLI number 1, Michael Williams. OLI number 2, Jalen Walker. Get pressure on the quarterback, man. Number 5, most important player for the University of Georgia. Whoever at that moment in time is blocking Suntarian Perkins. Dude's got 9 sacks on the year. He's getting after it. Now, they will rush him from a variety of spots. He is their best pass rusher. He's also one of their best linebackers, if you will. Number 4, whoever is blocking Princely Uman-Milan. Now, I left Walter Nolan off of this list, okay, because I think Walter's going to get some help. Whoever's on that interior of the defensive line, you're going to get chipped, you're going to get poked, you're going to get double teamed. Like, that's that. Those one-on-ones on the outside are unavoidable. You're just not going to go 4 quarters without putting your left tackle on an island versus one of these pass rushers. So I got them number 5 and number 4. Number 3, the man everywhere he goes corner. Do we have Epic Pen ready?
No, I don't have it ready anymore because we don't need it for film studies.
That's right. All right, so the Meg corner, man everywhere he goes. All right, Ole Miss runs a good bit of 3-by-1 coverage or 3-by-1 formations, and what that forces most of the time in the SEC is that corner over there on that X receiver to be by himself. Okay, he is man-to-man everywhere that guy goes. Most teams will play some type of zone coverage over the 3-by-1 set or the 3 receiver side. They'll play 4 DBs over there, kind of pick it apart with some zones. On the backside, they're going to play man coverage. It's the same thing Georgia does, same thing Arkansas did last week. 90% of SEC football teams do this. Now, there's 2 ways to play that type of zone or man coverage on the single receiver side. You can either play it with safety help or you can play without safety help. I think Saturday you got to play without safety help. The reason being, they will take those one-on-one shots to that X receiver, but what they're really trying to do is scare you into playing the safety over the top of that single receiver so they can run all their deep overs, all their digs, all their slants, everything back into where that safety's voiding. So you have to, in my opinion, be able to trust that boundary corner to play it true and play it by himself with no safety help. And that's going to be a very, very important role this weekend. Number 2, Malachi Starks. Number 1, Dan Jackson. Here's why. Team that plays this fast, team that gets on the ball and is ready to go. Your safeties at the University of Georgia control most of what you're playing anyways. All right, they're getting signals from the sideline, and everybody's picking those up. But when we're playing a fast-paced offense, those veteran safeties that Georgia has, they have to be able to adjust on the fly or call plays on the fly and make sure they're in the right coverage for what they're looking at. I got those 2 guys as the 2 most important players. As you can tell, all defense. All defense for me. And those 2 offensive tackles.
Yeah, I only did Georgia ones, so this will be kind of interesting. I said one of the most important players of this game is going to be whichever one of the receivers is going to have the best game, because for so long, you haven't had consistency at that position. You've had players have good moments, have nice catches, but no one else has given you just a very consistent game. So one of the receivers, it doesn't matter if it's Aaron Smith, Dom Lovett, Dylan Bell, it can be anybody. But one of them has to turn into consistent enough performance to give Carson Beck enough comfort that you can throw to him and give your offense the opportunities to consistently stay ahead of the chain. So I think one of the receivers, it doesn't matter who. Next one I have is obviously going to be Carson Beck. Like, it's always kind of hacky to give the quarterback. He's one of the most important players on the offense. We all know that. But Carson Beck in particular, because we all know what the turnover stats have been recently. They are what they are. You can't have that against Ole Miss on the road. You got away with it against Texas because your defense played out of your mind. You did it against Florida because you're more talented than them, and you, again, have a very good defense. I don't think you want to try your luck again doing this on the road against an Ole Miss team that has a very dynamic offense. And then one of the third ones, I have Jalen Walker. We explained why that one. You're going to bring 5 more. You're going to need to get after the quarterback. He's been one of the guys that's been better at doing that than anyone this season. Michael Williams, you could also put in there, but Jalen Walker has kind of stolen the show so far. And then 4, I have Brett Thorson. And I know you're going to hate this one, but Lane Kiffin offenses do not like to drive the field. If Lane Kiffin is consistently starting offenses within his own 15, the offensive drives, they're more likely to, 1, turn the ball over, 2, have turnovers on downs, or 3, just not score as many points. It's statistical data. If Lane Kiffin's getting the ball in good field position, things like that, you need Brett Thorson, what he's always done all season, to have a really good game and to be able to pin them back, force them to have these kind of long, drawn-out drives.
I like that. What do you got for me, Jay Will?
My first one is a little bit of prognostication on my part, but I'm going with Chris Cole. I think after watching film today,
Hell yeah.
and you were
Talk to
showing
me.
the tight end how they scheme him. I mean, he's been an impact player for them, especially with Trey Harris out. He's been this guy for them, and Jackson Dart looks for him a lot. And it immediately made me think back to the Texas game where Chris Cole was always on what was his name? Hunter Helm. Hunter Helm for Texas. Chris Cole played a massive role in that football game. So it immediately took me back to that. So I'm kind of predicting that Chris Cole's going to have a huge impact on Saturday's game. Number 2, I put all of the defensive backs because you got to play every single one of you. You got to be on top of your game because they're going to be trying to find the one-on-one matchup, and I'm sure they'll find a way to do it where every single one of you at some point in this game is going to be put in a one-on-one matchup, and you got to win those.
Todos.
And then my final one, it's just another entire unit. It is the offensive line. When you see a team has 94 tackles for loss through like 8 or 9 games, that's very daunting. That kind of makes you puts a pit in your stomach a little bit, knowing that that's what you're about to face this week. So the offensive line, you got to play clean. You got to protect Carson Beck, and you also have to help out in the run game and make sure that you aren't forced into being a one-dimensional football team. Because if you are, and they're able to just tee off on you constantly throughout the game, it's going to be a rough, long day.
You look like you're reading something important.
Yeah, I'm the YouTube chat's talking about a Trevor Etienne report. Trevor wasn't on the injury report.
I think that's why. I think somewhere along the way, people saw that Trevor Etienne is not on the report and spread that as, that's
news.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
so they spun off of that's news. Etienne's not on the news. Okay, I thought somebody in the chat was talking about Trevor Etienne is reported as questionable or doubtful or whatever. He's not on the report.
No, he's not. According to so,
if there's reports like that going out, Kirby Smart's in trouble.
Right.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, for Kirby's sake, I hope that's not true. So yeah, I would assume he's going to play Saturday. Where we at? Why Ole Miss wins this football game, boys? Let's start there, and then we'll go to the Georgia side of the football. Why does Ole Miss win this week?
I mean, the first one is it's the obvious answer. Georgia turns the ball over.
I didn't even have that one.
Yeah, you can't have 3-4 turnover games and expect to win on the road in the SEC consistently. I mean, Carson Beck's already the first SEC player in history to have back-to-back games of 3 interceptions and win them both. So I don't like the idea that they can do that the third time. I don't think you want to pressure luck, like I said. So, yeah, if you have turnovers in this game, and it's not just Carson Beck. If you have fumbles, if you have muffed punts, turnovers are turnovers. So don't give Ole Miss the opportunity. That's a reason that Ole Miss will win. You want me just to go through the whole one?
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin has an incredible first-half game plan. Lane Kiffin offenses are able to kind of sneakily get up on you quickly. Like, hey, wait a minute, they just scored 17 points in the first half and we're down 2 scores. Now you're on the road, down 2 scores. Now, you've come back before against a team like Alabama, so it's not like all is dead in the world. But if you give them that kind of cushion, things could have a long day for you. Next, Jackson Dart plays out of his mind. Like it takes
special player.
It takes a special, particularly at the quarterback position, to make as much of a difference. We've seen it with Jalen Milroe. We've seen it time and time again when Kirby Smart defenses either get beat or they struggle. It's because the quarterback usually is putting in an incredible effort. Jackson Dart, if he has one of these, Georgia could be in a lot of trouble.
I think these are easy for me. If Ole Miss wins this football game, they were far more explosive than you. They created way more havoc plays than you on the defensive side of the football. And this one isn't necessarily determined on this game, but this is a fact with regards to Lane Kiffin. They're just better offensively at home than they are on the road. They get this game at home. It's a massive, massive change for them. Not from a crowd noise standpoint. Like, I don't think this is going to be – maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll come in here Monday and I'm like, God dang, that place was nuts. But I don't think this is going to be the loudest environment I've ever been in. I don't know if everyone's pissing down their leg. I don't think that's going to be the situation. I felt that way about Neyland. You go into Neyland Stadium, and it's one of the most intimidating things in the world as an opposing football player. I don't feel that way about Ole Miss. I could be wrong. I don't think I will be this weekend.
Me and you were almost on the same note across the board. I put explosiveness. If they just explosive you to death on offense and they are continuing to hit their shots and they're pushing the ball down the field quickly and they're scoring points at will, you're going to be in trouble. It's going to be a reason why they win this football game. Their defensive front. If they're able to dominate like they have all year long against majority of the teams that they have played, and Carson Beck is getting sacked and your run game is getting tackled behind the sticks and you're getting put in bad situations on like 2nd and long, 3rd and long, it's going to be a tough way to find a path to win that football game. And then my third one is along the line with you, Kirby, of Jackson Dart becomes super special this football game. He does special things. He just does things, and he beats you. He's the reason why the Ole Miss beats you.
Just go especial. That's my thing.
Sorry. I'll be
Muy
quiet.
especial.
I'll be quiet.
Why does Georgia win this game, Kirby?
First one is Carson Beck and the offense take care of the football. I mean, you've won games having 3 and 4 turnover outings. If you don't have turnover outings, imagine how much you beat those other teams by.
Just imagine.
Yeah, so if you have a turnover-free game here, I would say you'd be hard-pressed to beat Georgia. If you could guarantee me Georgia comes in this game, doesn't have a turnover, I would be shocked if they lost. So that's one of them. Next one, Georgia pressures Jackson Dart enough to force turnovers. This might not come into fruition as much simply because the rain might hinder their passing game, but the offense is going to revolve around how well Jackson Dart can move the football and stress this defense. If it doesn't stress it at all, Georgia's going to win this football game. And then the third one, and we've seen this before and time again, and this is usually the case, Kirby Smart out-schemes Lane Kiffin. Somewhere along the way, Lane Kiffin's going to have something that works, but that Georgia always makes adjustments, and Georgia typically has answers, especially for Lane Kiffin-style offenses. So those are the 3 reasons I think if Georgia wins the game, it'll be why.
I got 3 for you. Number one, and I think it's the far most important in this football game. I told you in the film notes, this is going to boil down to one-on-ones a lot of this football game. Whether it's your defensive lineman versus his offensive tackle, can your defensive lineman get home? Or whether it's a wide receiver versus your corner, can your corner defy the ball? I believe, and maybe I'm proven wrong this weekend, but I believe across the board, 22 for 22, Georgia's got a better football roster. So if it boils down to one-on-ones, you've got better football players. You're going to win those one-on-ones when those opportunities are presented to themselves. Number 2, and I think, honestly, this might be even more important than the first one. There's only one football team going into this game that I think is going to be able to run the ball. Now, Ole Miss is the SEC's best right now on paper in terms of stopping the run. We'll see this weekend, right? We'll see this weekend. I know that going into this game, the one thing I think I can predict is that Georgia's going to outrush Ole Miss. And if they outrush them to a stagger, like a massive stagger, it's going to be the reason they win this football game. Number 3, and the most obvious one, is that Carson returns to Carson. Like Carson Beck's got to play Carson Beck football. Can't be forcing footballs. That was the worst game he's played ever last week. He can't do that again. Not this weekend.
Nope.
Not on the road against a good football team like Ole Miss.
No, you cannot.
My number 1 is Georgia's game is forcing teams to be one-dimensional and throwing the ball through the air. They don't want you to be able to run the ball. They want to completely take that out of your game plan. So the fact that Ole Miss kind of does this conventionally for you, like I feel like that's kind of an advantage for Georgia, that you're just going to you're going to run the ball still just to try and do that because you have to. You have to try and establish it at some point. You can't just say we're going to throw it for 75 plays every single time. So I think that's kind of an advantage for Georgia. Number 2, Georgia's defense doesn't get fooled consistently to where they're just going to give up tons and tons and tons of explosives, in my opinion. I think that especially once they settle into this football game, I just don't see Georgia's defense breaking enough for Ole Miss to strip off explosives consistently. And then my third and final one, Mike Bobo is going to dial up a game plan. This secondary for Ole Miss gives up the pass. They have not defended the passing game too well this season. It's kind of been their Achilles heel because they do defend the run relatively well, but they give it up through the air. And so I think that Mike Bobo is going to develop a great game plan as he has consistently throughout this entire year, and he's going to play a major role in why Georgia wins.
He's got the book out, dude.
Most pass completions in a Georgia football season.
Football season?
Yeah.
It's probably Bennett. 2022.
That's what I would guess.
Who's 2?
Murray?
Give me Eric Zier.
Murray's all the way down at 6. It's Carson Beck, 302 last year.
Damn, we
The last 2 seasons for all you folks that's like, ooh, Georgia throwing the football way more than they used to. They've been chunking it. They've been chunking it for 2 years now. So says the record books. Most pass completions in a career.
It's got to be Murray.
By how much?
He's a 4-year start. By how much?
It is Murray. It is Murray. He's also got the SEC record. So no wonder you got the passing yards record, dude. You threw it more than anybody else in their career. Choochless at that.
Hey, Will Rogers couldn't take him down.
True story.
Yeah, Will Rogers.
He even ran away from it.
Yeah, but never mind.
Didn't want the smoke.
Best completion. Oh, y'all know this one.
South Carolina 2015.
Yeah.
Grayson Lambert.
24 out of 25.
Yeah. They're pretty good, boys. Best. No, y'all know that one. Best completion percentage in a career, minimum 1,400 attempts.
In a career.
David Green.
He is third on this list.
You know what? I'll go Stetson Bennett.
He is not on this list. The key is 1,400 attempts.
Okay. What-
Bro, Murray, you only completed 62% of your balls. Come on, dog. It's Murray.
Ah.
That's the best?
Yeah, 62.3%. Number 2 is Eric Zaire at 59%.
He was my next guess.
Buns. I'm good on trivia. Do we have nostalgic tape today?
Oh, we do. Let
We
me
do.
get that pulled up.
Honestly,
I
forgot.
think I'm gonna catch a mean dub right here.
You probably will.
Yeah.
I think this is one.
This
Is it a
is
good one?
yeah. It's more of a player-centric one.
I like me some player centrics. Let me know when you're ready there, my
We
man.
also do you have a Wiley tape if we want to refresh on that?
We did the Wiley breakdown a couple weeks ago. I even gave you a player comp on that one. I think he's Terrell Owens.
Oh, that's
Your
right.
face. It's ideal, right? Terrell Owens dropped 7% of his targets. Terrell Owens, not a natural hands catcher. Terrell Owens oftentimes let it into his body. Terrell Owens also an Adonis.
Our OG listeners are like, who the heck did he just point to?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, they don't know.
I didn't see it.
Okay, good.
I didn't see
Are you
it.
sure you didn't see
I almost had a fumble
I'm
rooski there.
positive.
Can we talk about that damn State Farm commercial, bud?
Which one?
That's Nazir Stackhouse.
It is.
Dang.
It is. I wasn't trying to stump him this time, dude. Good job.
He's right there.
Yeah, good
We
job.
were going to be disappointed if you didn't get it before pressing play.
No. Look, sometimes it's just for the enjoyment of
You
watching.
just met the standard, dude.
He's the most consistent Georgia defensive tackle of the Kirby Smart era. He deserves to have some nostalgic tape.
I loved covering this kid in high school, man. He's a tremendous human. Tremendous human out of Columbia High School in Decatur. Oh, yeah.
Throws a guard off.
Oh, yeah. Actually, this is his junior tape, so this isn't Columbia.
Yeah, I couldn't find any senior tape.
Damn, I'm good. Woo. Nailed it. All right. And I remember watching this before I went and interviewed him. One of my very first interviews as a recruiting analyst.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Went out to Columbia High School and realized this was like, this was in between, this was before COVID, and this was before I got sideline passes where I go. So, like, this is my first real time bumping into an SEC commit that's 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I walk in there at 6'1" at the time. I think I'm 285 pounds. Made me feel so small.
He's a big
so
dude.
small. He's a big dude.
I had a sociology class with him.
One of the many cases where you see multiple high schools on the player profile or whatever,
Yeah.
and all you had to do is ask why. His mom kept climbing in her job, and they kept moving her around.
Just want
She
to be a
worked
mom.
in, if I remember correctly, she was in corporate management for Kroger,
Shout out.
and just kept climbing job titles,
Good on mom.
and they kept moving her around.
I haven't seen this arrow before.
The huddle arrow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
The
God.
L arrow, yeah, buddy, that's a hold. Where's the yellow flag that never came in?
Yeah, that boy.
Boo
arching-
hockey.
Yeah, that boy arching his back.
Bro, you're on one today. You are on one today.
Muting you.
Damn, bro, my mic's back.
You're on a 10-minute timeout.
All right,
That's against Arabia Mountain, and they haven't changed their jerseys in 10 years. Fun tape. Sorry I nailed it so quickly.
That's completely fine.
No, like I said, sometimes we go to stump you. Sometimes it's more just to revel and let you show off your skills and also to watch a really talented Georgia player. This is one of those instances, man.
Makes sense.
Everyone wins here.
Yep. All right, we good?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good on that. All right, we've got another show tomorrow. I'm trying to pin you guys down on a take right quick before we leave, and I don't know what it is. Game ball Saturday. Who's it going to? We're going to do game balls tomorrow, so you got an opportunity to retake this one, but game ball tomorrow,
All right.
Saturday. Who is it?
I'm going to go Lawson Lucky.
Ooh,
Ooh.
rabbit out of a hat.
That's an interesting one.
Who you got?
I'll go Beck. I think that at some point he's gonna have a Carson Beck-like game that doesn't involve 3 turnovers. We know what he is. We also know that the last 4 or 5 weeks have not been up to the standard of Carson Beck football. He'll admit that to you. I think this is the week that he looks to turn it around.
Give me Trevor Etienne and another loss in fantasy. Do you let Colby Young back on the team?
I would. Are you saying for this game or just for?
If what is said is true, like obviously,
What's an affidavit? Sworn
Yeah.
affidavit.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
true.
a statement. Based on that statement, that's what I should have said. Based on that statement, you let him back on the team.
I think you open yourself up to something if you don't.
You're opening yourself up to something either way.
Either way.
Because the narrative, the public narrative's already out there. You're not going to be able to change that, even with the affidavit. There's going to be people, Kirby Smart had a hand in this. So you're not going to change the public narrative either way. Don't ruin this kid's life or this kid's career because of something. Look, I mean, the situation is what it is. You have a sworn affidavit now. The charges aren't going to be there. Whether what happened is accused of happened or not, the affidavit is what it is. I don't think that you can then operate on try and have optics for your program.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Kids are more important than what some dumb on Twitter says about your program.
Mm-hmm. Now, when he comes back,
kids. No, I'm just
It's not what I said.
no, I'm just kidding. I mean, the sworn affidavit part kind of makes it an easy decision.
yeah. I mean, it's
All right.
now, if God forbid something like this comes up again, I think you then have to. Move on.
Yeah, no, you got to go.
But
All right, that's been our show tonight. We will have a Patreon-only film study tomorrow over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. I'm finally going to take a look back at the offensive performance against Florida and really break that down play-by-play for you guys over there. So if you want that, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Appreciate you guys for being here today. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and damn sure, make sure you're subscribing. We'll see you tomorrow.